crying.
The people just keep on crying.
It's unfair. And we going nowhere. Nowhere. All the big people. Nowhere. All the roadside hustlers. Nowhere. Tiffy, Uncle Rico.
The big sea divide us.
Tiffy, Uncle Rico.
The big sea.
It's all in the game.
It's all in the game.
Here, there, and
Here,
everywhere.
there, and everywhere.
The people keep on
The
crying.
people just keep on crying.
It's unfair. And we going nowhere. All the big people. All the roadside hustlers. Tiffy, Uncle Rico.
The big sea divide us.
Tiffy, Uncle Rico.
The big sea.
It's all in the game.
It's all in the game.
Here, there.
My people, where you at? Where you at? Wake up from your slumber, stop sleeping. Whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your. Come on. I know you're sleeping now. You gotta wake up some more, yeah? Okay, let's go. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. So much. They lie. The people fool us, oh. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not know. I said we tired with their lies. We tired with their promises that led us to a lot of damages. We tired with their speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrate us. So why can't you lie? Why can't you steal? Why can't you allow the citizens to beat? You see, we just tell you that why we voted you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. So much. I said they lie. The people fool us, oh. The people lie to us. My people, where you at? Where you at? Wake up from your slumber, stop sleeping. Whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your. Come on. I know you're sleeping now. You gotta wake up some more, yeah? Okay, let's go. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. So much. I said they lie. The people fool us, oh. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not know. I said we tired with their lies. We tired with their promises that led us to a lot of damages. We tired with their speech they preach indeed, and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw, it frustrate us. So why can't you lie? Why can't you steal? Why can't you allow the citizens to beat? You see, we just tell you that why we voted you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. So much. I said they lie. The people fool us, oh. The people lie to us. My people, where you at? Where you at? Wake up from your slumber, stop sleeping. Whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your hands, whip your. Come on, come on, come on. I know you're sleeping now. Y'all gotta whip us more, yeah? Okay, let's go. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. So much. I said they lie. The people fool us, oh. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal. I said we tired with their lies. We tired with their promises that led us to a lot of damages.
Hello, fellow Liberians. This is Joseph Nyuma-Boakai. It is time to be counted for the upcoming general election, and I'm asking you to please make sure to register to vote. Every election is determined by the people who show up and vote. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by people you did not elect. We must never forget the importance of making our vote count. We paid high price for this democracy as a people. Let us protect and defend it. Voting is the expression of our commitment to ourselves, our children, our welfare to this country, and our one world. Please listen out for the dates and the places and go and register to vote. The rescue mission is well on course. When you register and vote, you will think Liberia, love Liberia, and then build Liberia. Again, I say this is Ambassador Joseph Nyuma-Boakai.
Welcome everybody. It's good to be here. Today it's Wednesday, the 12th day of April, 2023. This is the Class Reloaded. I'm your host, Stephen Johnson, saying a very pleasant welcome to all of you. Today we have with us in studio Abdullah Mamey. Mamey is a regular guest here, but today he will talk about the $50 billion carbon deal signed by the government, quote unquote, signed by the government in the UAE. He will dig deep into it and talk about the MOU that was signed between the government and an organization in which falsified information was shared that they used, that it was between the government and the UAE. We also have with us Jupor, Jerry Yimpang, Mona Gopule, Yontong, and of course we have Pia. Let me try to add Pia back. We lost him there. We have Pia. We also have Daniel Sano will join us later on once he's settled his internet issues. Senator Dillon will come up later on halfway through the program to talk about the Liberty Party issue. There has been latest development from the courts. He will come here and provide us details about the Liberty Party issue. Today is the 12th day of April, April 12th, 1980. Today, about 43 years ago, Liberia was plunged into a serious catastrophe. The country witnessed what many believe was the beginning of the downward spiral of the country. And so 43 years later, we are here. This time around, we have a platform to talk about our country without being targeted, without, so to speak. You know, there has been lots of changes in the body politics of our country over the last 43 years. We witnessed a period where our country was plunged into serious nightmare as a result of the cascading effect of the 1980 April 12th event. Be that as it may, we're glad to be here on this Wednesday. I'd like to tell all of our listeners to kindly share the show. Those in class kindly share the show, invite somebody so that we all can have a wonderful and fruitful conversation. I would like to also say thanks to all of our radio stations broadcasting us live. That's Bourgeois Radio FM 98.1 there in Monserrado, Premium FM 98.1 in Banga, Bon County, Radio Tupa FM 89.1, all the way there in Grand Bassa County, Voice of Lofa FM 99.3 there in Lofa, Wonderman City, Lofa County, Radio Joy Africa 97.5 there in Magibi County, that's Kakata Magibi, and our very own also Voice of Gompa FM 106 all the way there in Gompa City, Nimba County. We will, as usual, begin the conversation with what's trending. We'll go across the room with each of our panelists, 2 minutes each. We'll talk 2-3 minutes each. We'll talk about trending national issues, and then we'll switch the ball to the first phase of the conversation, which is the $50 billion MOU between the government of Liberia and a company in UAE. And then the second phase of the conversation, we will look deeper into the Liberty Party issue. Let me recognize a few of our students in class who've shared the show. I see Konan Koto. She says, good afternoon, Momodu Canning, Didier is watching from District 10, Yake all the way. Lorena Koto, Joseph Colley, Kaiser Kamara, Stephen Topa, he says present. I see Felicia Davis. Good evening, Felicia is in class. Welcome. Sam, I see Shedra, Andrew Jejua, Clarence Benson, Charles Russell, Massa Addison, Elizabeth Pakatia, Titi Ula, I see David Sherman, Prince Dolly, Bradley Brown, Edlord Elizabeth Tukwa, Amos Goa, Asha Williams, Steve Miller, Sizu, I see Phoebe Warity, she's also in class, Amos Derrick, Tenen Cooper, Valerie Kendi, Maima, I see Maima, Philippi Bade, Martha Doki, Arthur Smith, Jerry Ferguson and Philip Peabody, Mata Doki, Modukanen, Augustine Bobo, Joseph Keto, Agba Momolu, Ibrahim Snotting, Sam C.A., Yombly Consistent Son says person, Tracy Wright, Afra Kobo, James Massacre, William Horace, Charles Coleman, Bill Carson, Boaka Kamara, Greg Newton, Lise Kennedy, Louis Yasia, Jerry Yecker, D. Nelson Sion, Amos Derrick, say please do my son by sharing the show. Thank you. Emmanuel Bonakai, Akale Jinian, Alexander Masale, Galo Galo, Bismarck, North Carolina, Timothy Kennedy, Sumo Bindu, Edwin Jalabazi, Eric Johnson, and all of you wonderful people, Swa Mapu, all of you wonderful people that are watching us in Radioland. It's been a good day so far. George Ceo, she says, Simeo, and he says, Simeo, George, how are you, my brother? Bill M. V says he's watching from Bon County. How is it there in Bon County? Yasa Kennedy says she's watching from Texas. All the way in the South. Welcome, Tenfold Johnson, and all of you wonderful people. Kale share the live. Amos Bana, Tamar Rabos, Prince, Rennie Sando, all of you. James Okapi, all of you. Kale share. Let's begin with Jupor. Jupor was trending. I'll go with Jupor. I'll go with Jerry, then Muna, then Yonton, Mame, and then Pia.
Okay, so trending from my end tonight, for the first time since the Local Governance Act of 2018 was passed, Bon County has actually set up its local governance, that which will steer the affairs of development in the central region of our country. So, and the local governance that was set up include members from all sides, namely from the disadvantaged group, the old folks, and of course, people from the youth background and all sides in society. They were all set up to steer the affairs of the county development. But this actually happened as a result of huge pressure from the civil society in central Liberia, where they said, till the county council is set up, nothing will be done relating to taking money from the county's account, making sure that development is being carried out. But surprisingly, some few weeks back, some local officials, including the superintendent and several other local officials in the county, actually attempted to withdraw about 200,000 from the county's account. So Mr. Aaron Saki Feda was the chair for that committee for the Local Governance Act. And in conclusion from my end, there is this murder case that occurred in Boncha, where a man, killed his fiancé, his 40s, killed his fiancé, only because this lady he believed this lady was having, a secret relationship other than their personal relationship. So when they killed this lady, quote unquote, and as we speak, this guy, he's been investigated. But the reason for which he killed his girlfriend is just funny, because this lady was cheating on him as he claimed. So he actually got rid of her, and that's really, really bad. Thank you.
Thank you, Jupo. Thank you. Jared, what's trending?
Yeah, Steven, everyone, how you doing? For me, from my end is this issue. I've been listening to former Maryland County Senator John Balud, and trying to call for reconciliation between JMB and ABC. But then in the process, he comes with some level of dishonesty, trying to shift blame that the former vice president is not reaching out and all of that. But one thing Senator Balud and others are not telling ABC is Joseph Yuma Boaka have the numbers, and he's the one the people want. So, and besides that, people are giving ABC the impression that even after George Weah, he can be president. Who tell him that? Yeah, an imaginary, kind of second term for Weah. Let's assume we are admitting or supporting that Weah gets 12 years. You got to tell ABC that the people in this country, in Liberia, yeah, they gave the Southeast 12 years, and you saw the way the country has been governed. You think they don't have their children, they are not talking? I got information that people met in Banga. They are talking. What makes you to feel that even after George, you are 12 years, if you put in all of the mechanisms to undermine the opposition, then people like Balud should be telling you that it can happen. Even as it is, the people are deeply concerned. See the way we are as governed the country. And you are from the Southeast, you think they're going to take another Southeasterner? So this is a way of making sure that we form ourselves on the table with all of the blunders. Since Todman time, we've been having the issue, one single issue in our region, which is road. If our own children cannot fix that, then tomorrow you come. So these are the things politically I need to be telling ABC, that this thing for us to be on the table and move forward, since the people that have their numbers about to come together, let go and form part of the cake. Because we and other people have disturbed the future of many young people in that place. With no development, everything, one of the underprivileged region. So these are the things we should be telling ABC. Like, come this way. You cannot say that Joseph Yuma Boaka was the article. He was a chairman when all of you started this thing, when people like Musa Bedete can go and divide a party. Then John Balud, you think ABC, that serious man, you go into coalition with half party. Why your CPP chairman is saying nothing can happen, and you can go to ABC to go to Musa, Then you want to come and say because GMB now reach out, which language Kumi is not understanding yet? And you can say Kumi get more than 300,000 votes, so you can win elections and all of that. I mean, you're not coming with sincerity, Senator Balu. ABC and other people should know that there's no way that even George Weah, but right now, even when George Weah leave it will be very difficult for us to get it back. This is the time you one of the founders from the Southeast. I don't know anything about you, about negative or whatever, but common leadership tells you that you need to understand. So John Balu and others on this note should be able to go to ABC. Then say walk to the home and go say sorry for all the things you and Musa Bedete there to create problem in the opposition. I'll stop this five. This is my issue, my brother.
Thank you, Jerry. Mona.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Thanks for being represented here today. Today is a solemn day for us as Liberians, going back and thinking about what happened on this day. So many years ago, we thought we were getting rid of corruption, but then we can see that we are even plunged deeply into it. So it's a day that we have to reflect and think about our way forward. What we really want for Liberia. We as Liberians should be able to reflect on that. Even though at the time I was just still a little girl, I didn't really remember what really happened. But then afterwards, we went into history, we read about what happened, and you can see that nothing has changed. Things has actually gotten and Congo Mercy worse. So we have to be, this is a sober reflection for us as Liberians. You know, think back and remember what happened those days and try to make a difference today. And then just call to our standard bearer, Joseph Yuma Boyka, that I don't know if he has finally picked a running mate. I just want to say that I wish and pray that it will be a female. I mean, from my own little corner. Right now, we're talking about gender balance. We're talking about, you know, woman bring it and men bring it. We put it together and make sense of it. So if we can, if we can go with a female running mate, that would be very okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mona. Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. And I want to say hi up to my fellow panelists and to our many followers, viewers, and listeners across Liberia and the diaspora. I just want to chip in with the historical significance, or I would say the historical legacy of today, April 12, 1980. As many of us, few of us weren't born, but many of us were young at the time. It was reported that Samuel Doe and 17 enlisted men of the armed forces of Liberia overthrew Tubert. Even though there are other accounts that also suggest that it wasn't actually the 17 men, like the book written by the former First Lady Tubert suggested that there was a white hand that she saw, and other books written by other Liberian authors. But that brings us to a part of the larger conversation that we should be having about the rewriting of our history. And I think a lot of time for those of us in the intellectual class have that burden upon us to begin championing some of the discourse that suggests and campaign for the actual writing of our history, not just tailored to the last 40 years or 50 years in our history, but generally as far didn't far back as the founding of Liberia, because there's been mixed reaction, mixed account of many historical conversations that we've heard, that we've learned in school. And I think we've come of age as a nation to begin focusing, especially for the next generation of Liberians, the next generation of leaders, to begin focus in making the history right for for the next generation, I thought that I could flag that in my training.
Thank you. Mame.
I say I waive that time to, to Pia so that we can have time to talk more.
Okay, Daniel, are you there? If you're there, quickly.
Yes. Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Steven. Let me say good afternoon, good morning, good evening to the panelists. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. Putting today's in historical context, I think for Liberia, we have a long way to go. The cloud this morning over Monrovia was very dark, and you could sense the sense of doom across the city. And I know that was also reflected across this country. People everywhere around the world, people go through revolution, and there are experiences that are learned from the revolution. Talk about the French Revolution, the American Revolution, all those revolutions around the world achieved greater feats for their respective countries. And the put countries on path moving into the Industrial Revolution and what have you. Today, they are developed countries around the world. But in the context of Liberia, I don't think that we've learned any lesson from April 12, 1980. And interestingly for me, today coincides with what I would term as a political ruling that was handed down by the Supreme Court of Liberia. We have had this case lingering in the Liberty Party for a very long time. And the issues in the case were very simple. The election laws provides for who should submit party documents to the commission after party conventions. All the laws are explicitly clear. What we have in the case of the Liberty Party is that somebody who didn't call a political party convention, when they fictitiously submitted document in the name of the party to the commission, and the commission, for some reason, didn't hesitate, they accepted the document. When we got to realize that the document the men submitted were altered, we raised issue. Today, the Supreme Court said to us in their ruling that the Election Commission of all places doesn't have that right, that authority to investigate people when there's allegation of altering party document. Of late, the Supreme Court has set a very bad precedent. Most of the ruling for the court has really unsettled a lot of legal principle. In 2017, they told us fraud vitiate. They said big fraud, small fraud. The fraud, yes, there was fraud in 2017 election, but it was not egregious enough to overturn the result. Today, the Supreme Court is telling us that, look, in a political party, when somebody altered document, NEC does not have the authority. And so, therefore, in short, I know we'll go in detail. The Supreme Court affirmed the ruling from the Chief Justice today. It's a very sad day for our party. It's a very sad day for our country. And I think some of the justification that were used for the 1980 coup, we haven't learned from those experiences. Talking about selective justice, compromising the justice sector at the benefit of few people in the country. This is why we see it's a travesty of justice in broad daylight. But these are political terms, and we're not surprised that such a thing is happening to our party. The political leader has called on partisans to remain calm. She's going to be speaking, hopefully, on Saturday to the partisans across this country. So I just thought to highlight that because for me, back here in Liberia, it's a very embarrassing situation for us that we have a court system that cannot be trusted, that is very susceptible to political manipulation and what have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Senator Dillon will be here halfway through the show to talk more about it. So thank you for bringing it up. Pia, take us there so that we can begin the first phase of the.
Thank you, Daniel, for the little insight. But Dillon, like Steven said, Dillon will be again. I've been confused. I heard that there was a ruling, and I kept asking ruling on what and about what and what are the implications. So it needs more explanation, and it's good that Dillon will be here on the second phase to tell us what happened. But before going to what happened, let me just say something, because a lot of people have been reaching out to us and being so concerned about Liberty Party case. I don't know who Joseph Boaga would choose as his running mate. But when Joseph Boakai gets ready to choose his running mate, there's no law, nothing whatsoever that says the person he will choose should be either a member of a political party, a leader of a political party. The person should simply be a Liberian. So assuming I was not in the UP and not in any party business and I'm here, and JMB believe that I'm the person, there's no requirement that I should be in any party before he picks me. And so I'm saying this to say, JMB's decision that he will make will not be based on what happened in any political party anywhere. He will just decide who he wants. If he wants a Costa, he wants a Kun, he wants a Njombli, he wants Gonglo, or even he can say he wants Stephen Johnson to be a running mate. Nothing stops him from choosing any of them. I just thought to say that out. And quickly on my trending issue, you know, Stephen has been, I don't know how many people on this platform who were not born by that time. I know Jupor. I don't know about Daniel. I don't know about Ambula or Laraman. But 43 years ago, when we killed a president, there were a couple of charges, but the main charge was rampant corruption. And I've always asked myself, 43 years after killing a president for rampant corruption, have we done away with corruption? Of course, the answer is no. And one of the worst times for corruption is now. I would think that John Molu said one time that our government, that we're in alien government, was 10 times more corrupt before doing any audit. But what we see is that the our government could be even more, 50 times more corrupt than the Toba government. So if the Toba government was overthrown for corruption, and 13 persons after the process were placed before a kangaroo court, like poles planted in broad daylight, have those people executed. And 43 years later, you have Liberia as corrupt as it is. Then why did we kill those people? I follow some nonsense on your BC Today state radio. And I don't know whether the US ambassador were listening. Because he's running way to America talking about people in America, they're having platform, they're doing this, blah, 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 blah. Your BC called Sam Jackson, they called Deacon Color, part of the so-called progressives, and somebody who is supposed to be a little grandchild of the Talbot on the Bomber Show. And Sam Jackson and Deacon Color, quote-unquote progressives, were justifying the killing. And Sam Jackson in particular went and started cussing that Talbot grandson, that he meant stupid. He should shut up. He's this. And his father, the grandfather, whoever deserved to die, the killing was justified. Sam Jackson. Deacon Color is supposed to be at the governance commission. He echoed the same message. When the boy was trying to say, but so you say you're killed for rampant corruption. Is Liberia now even more corrupt? The host. Say if you want to talk about the current government being corrupt, we're talking another day. That's not what today's show is intended for. But today's show we're discussing April 12th. And you kill people for corruption. And the man is calling your attention to what is happening now, and you, the host, you say that not here. People at the governance commission, what are they supposed to be doing? Helping us to put our governance institutions together to do the right thing. A guy from there was sitting on a show and justifying the murder of the former president because he's supposed to be a quote-unquote progressive, and attacking the man's grandson right on air. Even the sense of the host to even call the man's grandson and agents of the people who murdered him. What was justifying that thing? That a group of army people who didn't know the left from right. You murder people, they took power. They became triple corrupt. Since that time, corruption has lingered on. We should be ashamed to be knocking our chests anywhere for killing Tobo, particularly those 13 persons who had to be executed thereafter. And somebody wondering what's happening in Liberia? talking about unity. And we see the country is headed by a peace ambassador. He has his government officials and agents of the government going and doing the kind of things Sam Jackson and Deacon Carter did today. 43 years on, we've learned nothing. That's what it means. And you have the apologies of the government, agents of the government who talk trash. I listened to a clip somebody sent to me, lecture who running on OKFM. This guy could not even admit, Stephen, that the president was at the CIA headquarters. And when Clarence Jackson tried to put in, he kept saying that your CIA tour was just in Liberia. They make him back to him play that, but sir, can you confirm that the president was at the CIA headquarters? I'm not going to talk about what I don't know about. You can't confirm that the man was there, that your CIA tour was in Monrovia. And then he issued a press release pretending like he's talking general things, a media institution talking about the president veto some kind of bill. But I hope press release focus on one person, Philomena Williams of Ife. And that's how thin-skinned they are. Everybody have opinion, newspaper, individual. You read a whole release, your target of the release is the Ife president. But you're using generally it's a media institution and some civil society organization. But the only person you kept calling the release, I think you mentioned more than 5 times, is Philomena Williams and Ife. Yeah, I know Ledger who've been struggling. And George, we are even want to see him. He's trying to get back in George, we have good graces. And so he's busy trying to attack anyone that comes a way down to find a way back. These are my issues, Stephen.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you for your training issue. And let's move to the because I know Mame has to run later on, but let's move to the first phase of the conversation. And let me just bring our listeners up to speed. There was a press release issued by the government and republished on many local dailies or in many local dailies that the government of Liberia and the UAE, in quotation, quote unquote, had signed a $50 billion MOU on the issue of the green economy, the carbon emission level in the atmosphere. Well, Mame has been doing a lot of research on the subject, and we're glad to have him join us. But quickly, before you join, and let me just piggyback a little on what Pierre talked about, the Sam Jackson. I have read in the newspaper Sam Jackson's a reply from I was just forgetting his name, to Sam Jackson, and then I shared that newspaper headline with Sam Jackson, and one of the things, I didn't even know he was on EFBC. One of the things I said to him was he has to redefine himself, and that his understanding about the very history he claims to be a part of is highly fuzzy, and that he has no moral credibility to position himself in the way he does. Here's a man who benefited from the very same thing he criticizes. His father was a chef on Todman's Yash, and they benefited from the same largesse and loot of the very people he calls the oligarch. Came to America as a very young man at age 16, lived in New York, went back to Liberia, worked in the Tobo government, joined the Doe administration, doing working hour, would go to Ducor and go for pool bars at Ducor with young girls and drinking exotic liquor, warned by his colleague. He failed to yield to their warning, and Doe fired him. Came back to the States, went back to Liberia, joined Charles Taylor as a spokesperson in the early stages of the Taylor loot. Came back to the States, went back, worked as a consultant in Ellen government, came back here, criticized George Weah. Now he's back in Monrovia. So this is the kind of man we're talking about. He has no credibility. He has no integrity, no character that anybody should take seriously. And this is why I find it very troubling when I hear him make these outlandish and ridiculous comment about people he refers to as the progressive. But let me go to
that kid took on a shirt to fight him, Stevie. Some people took a picture, the live picture for the video. The man was so offended when Samuel Jackson, after insulting and talking nonsense, the man took on a clothes to fight. And if Samuel Jackson believed that the killing was right with what you just said, with his role in the Togo government, then he not supposed to be living too. Probably they should have placed him, he should have been on the 14th pole.
And on the morning,
Yeah, but
Oh,
you
you
stay
shall be on
around,
the 14th
working
pole,
with
eh?
every government, looting and doing all kinds of stuff. You know, many times he told us in the state when we're here, when brother was saying, Jackson said, I'm on borrowed years. But I'm going to mind you to be strong. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do to eat what I can eat until God calls me.
And
That's the kind of person I'm talking about.
on the morning of the coup, Sam Jackson, there's a picture I have. He was on the executive mansion ground hugging Doe, and that's how he got the job in the Doe Corp. But let's come to you, Mami. This $15 billion deal. What is it? Bring your listener up to speed as to what is it, what is involved, what it entails. What are the government saying the truth, and who's lying? What is the actual story around this 50 billion? Just do for all a quick snapshot about what is this deal, what is in it for us, what who's telling the truth, who's lying. Just run us through.
Yeah, so let me do that quick so that I can hook up and then join you back later. We were under moral obligation to protect our character and our reputation. That's the reason why we published the MOU. So the government announced, went to the UAE, signed an MOU with a private company. The company is just 5 months old, we were established October. And then wrote a press release that they have signed an MOU with the government of UAE. The press release was published in the Front Page Africa. It was published as a press release, not as a story. You can see it there written, published press release. So, put it in the papers, have their folks all on social media. But then more than talking about signing an MOU with the UAE, they said Liberia now is expected to benefit from $50 billion as a result of George Weah's visit to the UAE and the signing of the MOU. Immediately, we contacted our sources because I work in the blue economy. So I know contacts. So we contacted our sources and it revealed to us the content of the MOU, and that we came on social media and other platforms to say, one, that the government did not sign an MOU with the UAE, that the government signed MOU with a private company, and that the private company has no $50 billion from which countries benefit, and that the private company is in the process of using Liberia carbon resources to make profit. Those were our position. And there were counter arguments. So now the MOU is out. We've published the MOU. It reveals that the MOU is between the government and a private company called Blue Carbon. So on that front, the government lied. In the entire MOU, 8-page MOU, from start to end, there is no mention of dollar. I mean, to just mention, say, $5, $10, there is no money mentioned in the MOU. This to talk about 50 billion. That's the second thing we managed to prove with publishing the MOU. The third thing we have proven with publishing the MOU is that what is the motive of this company? What is driving this whole MOU stuff? What is driving the MOU is to tell our Liberian people, the forest you see standing, there is something in our green forest called carbon. What people can do is, when they have the expertise and the resources, they can calculate and they can capture and calculate that carbon and quantify it. Put number to it in megabar or whatever the value will be. And then there's a price for 1 ton of carbon. And then those people with expertise can sell the carbon and generate money. For Liberia, the estimates are around over 250 million every year we can generate from just portion of our forests. 250 million every year we can save carbon, sell that carbon, they call it carbon credit, sell the carbon credit and generate over 250 million a year. That is almost 25% of our budget a year. What Blue Carbon and other companies are doing is, since they claim to have the expertise to be able to capture the carbon and they get connection in the international market, in the national community to go and sell it, they are proposing to Liberia in the MOU that they want to come to Liberia. The government should give them certain portion of the forest. They will manage that portion of the forest. They will capture the carbon. They will sell and they will share the profit with government. That's the motive. It's written in the MOU in black and white that they want certain portion of the forest resources. The government will give it to them. They will manage it. They will sell the carbon, and then they will share the profit with government. So a company that is telling you they want to share profit with you on your own resources, you don't report that, but you run to the public and say you come and benefit 50 billion. The second important thing about the MOU when you read is that Blue Carbon is not even committing in the MOU that it has money to invest. The language in the MOU is their responsibility is to raise money to invest. Not that they're coming to invest. So what are they using to raise the money? What they are using to raise the money is our resources. Liberia has significant portion of the forest reserve in West Africa. So with the MOU that is signed now, they will take Liberia forest resource data and engage their partners and say, this is the forest that I have an MOU to manage. If we work together, we're able to raise money and manage the forest. We can be able to produce X ton of carbon. We sell, make profit, and then we give the excess to the government. So they are using that MOU as a marketing tool to attract resources. And it is written in the MOU. That's the reason why the government has been hiding the MOU. Because any rational person reading the MOU will know that Blue Carbon wants the MOU to go on the international market, market herself, market Liberia carbon resources, attract investment, can invest, sell the carbon, and share the profit with government. But they're not bringing in 500 billion from which we're supposed to benefit. So the only way you can convince the people is to hide the MOU. But thank God the MOU is out. People are reading the MOU and beginning to know that there is a trend of this government consistently being dishonest to Liberians. Whether it was going to Paris Forum and lying to extend the time, Paris Forum have to write to say, no, our program ended ever since. Whether it was Iboma or Eton, everybody here, we saw it. Whether it was the president lying publicly that he has farm in Sino County that producing food and people feeding themselves, there is a trend of the government consistently being dishonest. And that's the point we want people to begin to see, that it is not just normal for a government to be dishonest to this extent. If these things are happening, and one of which are coming out, it means there are more things happening in the back that are damaging the country, that are the reason for which investment cannot come, that are the reason for which private sector cannot grow, that are the reason for which people just suffering in the country. And that's why we wanted to highlight. So with that overview, we can attend to other issues and then join the show later so we can go into the implications.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, you can if you because one of the things, and I think I like the fact that you talked about the whole rationale, and most of the time these are middlemen institutions. They don't have resources. They identify potential business clients, and then they use those clients as a source of getting money. Now, and one of the things you talk about that I agree with you is the issue of how many lies, how many more lies can Liberians listen to from this government? If you look at the lie meter, the how you measure lie, this government, for the lion's share of its administration, hasn't been truthful to the Liberian people. She's lied about almost everything. She lied about and one of the things also, this government has never been transparent. Even trips, when the president makes these trips, they don't even disclose who are those on the trip. They don't even disclose the meeting. We saw the president come to the US. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody know who he met here. Nobody can tell you whether the meeting with the CIA was true or not. Everybody just, you know, the president goes to the World Cup. He lies that he met the Saudi king and he promised $100 million for the Lofa Road. That was a lie. The lie that the Hungary government had pledged $50 million. It's been since the World Cup, since November. We've yet to see a dime. The Eton and Iboma, as you rightly said. So they have Football Academy, the hair factory, you know, all these. It's just one lie after the other, for the last 5 years. And how many more lies can Liberian actually listen to? You know, so I like the fact that you did that. So if you want to hop up and come back in a little while we talk about.
Why I'm hoping up, my final comment will be what Liberians should be watching up for is under our new land rights law, the government doesn't have significant portion of the land. They have the public land, they have the private land, they have the government land. The government land is mostly acquired from the communities. So those places you call national parks, those are land that are originally owned by the communities in those counties. Government goes to the community, negotiate with them, and convert those places into park. That's how government own land. Public land are places where you're having school, hospital, road, and stuff like that. So with the emergence of this interest in managing carbon, there is high likelihood that the government is now going to be moving into community lands. There is a potential conflict now that will be brewing between communities and government over land ownership. And that's where we need to pay keen attention. The people own their land. The land rent law gave them the authority to own their land, use their land for the benefit of themselves. What now is coming to happen, because most of the national parks are already under different agreements with Norway and different places. What the government might do now is to bend the people here around, take their land, pull it on a park, and give it to somebody in UAE to manage. There's no problem with somebody managing land and selling carbon resources. Absolutely, we don't oppose that. What we oppose is such an arrangement that have already started on the shady deals. But we'll talk more about the land ownership when we come back.
Thank you, Mame. Thank you. And I like the fact that you brought in another critical component of the conversation, which is the issue of the land. Let me see if I can get Jerry back here. Yes. Yeah, I'm glad to get Jerry back, guys. Let's talk about. I want us to, you know, while we my man left, I just want us to come back a little until Dylan can join us to talk about April 12th. I think this is a good day for us to have a little bit of historical reflection on April 12th, and especially the story.
Before going to April 12th, I think. What Mame presented is cool, and it would be good to have, even if that for one minute, the thoughts of your panelists, because you know that's how we sweep things that are so big and we make it a look ordinary. The point my major made here is a big issue. If you have a government that does nothing but lie, it's not something you can just say and pass it like that.
Yeah, but because it's coming back, I just thought that we do.
Yeah, and people might have, maybe other panelists might have questions too.
Yeah, I'm not talking about question. I'm talking about our own opinion about what he discussed. Question is a different thing, because we all saw the press release that says the government signed a 50 billion carbon deal with the UAE. And the agreement was never made known to the public. We got to know there was an MOU. The MOU was never made known to the public.
Daniel, we're getting feedback for you. Daniel, please mute.
I managed to have seen a copy of the MOU just, was it today or yesterday? And that MOU is not with the government of the UAE. is with the so-called blue carbon. Nowhere in our MOU is the number 50 billion mentioned. So how come the government communicated to the public that they signed a 50 billion carbon deal with the UAE and hiding the so-called deal until through whatever means the guy used to put the MOU in the public? Is there something that we still have that we call government that does nothing but lie? Aren't we concerned? Like I said to you, the Minister of Information was on Clarence Jackson's show. They may ask the man 1 million times to say whether they were at the CIA headquarters. This guy could not say. Mr. Weah is our president. Everywhere he goes, we got the right to know. He said, your CIA thing at Moreira talk. Okay, you tell us where you went in America, who you met. He was not prepared to do that. Lying government like this. And I think this stuff that Amamejia talked about is very shameful. Terribly shameful. That we are and his people who lied at that. And I like the research that Mame and Martin Collins did, and the caption was, we are lied again. The government, we are the everybody. There's nothing but a bunch of liars. Crooks. Pure BSP the guys are on, eh? I mean, I just wanted to have my own thought. That's it.
No, it's good, Pierre. It's good, and I do appreciate the fact that you. And you know, we can go across the floor and let everybody speak about it. I was hoping,
Steven, I
come to you, Daniel. Just 1 second. We'll go across the room and everybody can just speak about this, and then if he rejoins, hopefully we have the time. We can also, quizzing on some of the issues and questions that maybe we and maybe our audience can have for him to address. So Daniel, I'll go with you. Then Mona, Jerry, Yonto, and Chupo. Once if you have a comment, a minute each, please.
My mother always tells me, only a smart person can lie. Stupid person can lie. Because the first thing when you tell a lie, you have to always remember that you lie. And that you always have to remember to tell another lie to defend that lie. So it takes a smart man to lie, and it goes unnoticed. But the kind of person, the kind of government we got here, what do you expect from them? The first thing the government got going from 2018 up to present, all of the policy statement the government has made, they have deliberately and unwittingly failed to live up to the policy statement. So the other day again, I said here that there's a conclusion among Samuel Tuer, George Weah, and other people. They really do believe that Liberians are not sophisticated. They really do believe that people are so stupid. And that conclusion is drawn from the fact that Liberians voted George Weah. They say the fact that people who vote George Weah, they are not intelligent people. But they are wrong. Because all of the extensive research that we members of the opposition community have done, it goes as far back as Ito and Ibomaf. When they said that Ito and Ibomaf, a company that only existed on paper, was going to give Liberia billions of dollars to build the Southeastern Corridor, the rest stop, the steering, all of the Southeastern County, all of the Southeastern Coastal Highway, and what have you. We said hey, it was not true. This thing sounded too good to be true. Some of them went to the legislature and said, even when the money comes from the devil, we want this money. And I do believe that George Weah has enjoyed the largesse from the international community. They have increased the size of the national envelope. If George Weah was really good intention to even connect the Southeastern Corridor by means of paved road or all-weather road, by this time, Grand Creek County will not be cut off from the rest of the country. I think all of you saw the video that is circulating on Facebook. That road leading to George Weah's hometown is so terrible. The home country of the president is so terrible. So all of the fact that all of the promises they made, they have not focused on achieving those promises. The government have resorted to one thing, and that is lie, lie, and lie. Even as folks from the Ministry of Information were protesting for low salary, right? Folks from the Ministry of Transport.
Still 1 minute or
First from
Yeah,
the
Daniel
Ministry,
should be wrapping up now.
I'm coming. First from the Ministry of, Lands, Mines, and Energy. Even at this point, protesting for making $45 at the end of the month. I listened to one of the deputy minister of information on the radio to say that, salary is current and people are well paid and everything. So the government is living self-denial. The government is living self-denial, and that's not propaganda. To lie about things that are not true. It's not propaganda. It will sort of come after you. Now the government cannot, if the campaign is open and I should sit on any platform of any government spokesperson, I'm going to push you to the wall on this 50 billion thing, right? So it's just embarrassing for our country that people who represent the government will have to be telling lies every day and night to appease themselves. That's the result you get when people live in denial. Nothing is true for them.
Thank you, Muna. Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Let me go to Muna. Muna, there's been, and we all know, one lie after the next. 6,000 teachers coming from
Daniel Muna.
No, I'm coming to you, Muna. This brother was 6,000 teachers. We are here factory. The coastal highway, everything. Just one lie after the other. Muna, your thoughts.
These people are nothing but liars. We will always have to say it. You can look at the whole government, Stephen. The whole government, it consists of delusional people. People who see a wall. This whole wall here is white, and they look at their friend and say, "My man, that wall black." Then their friend will say, "Yeah, that wall black." And all of them will just go with the flow. Yes, that wall is black. Let us believe that the wall is black. They are not people to be taken seriously. I don't know. Liberia had to go through this phase of our time. But we just need to do what we got to do now to get these people out of the way. These people are not just any ordinary corrupt people that, we saw in the past. Like what happened in the past. Nothing. These are people who defy our sense of stability. They defy everything we believe in. Everything that's supposed to mean right, they defy it. We can't continue like this. Liberia has to be liberated from this cult. I call the government, for me, it is nothing but a cult. It is George Weah sitting on top of some people, and all of them have that same mindset. They know how to concoct lies and put it together, and they think that people will believe it because they feel everybody should believe their lies. And that will not happen with a lot of other people. Liberians did well by voting for George Weah because they believed in him. But they will also do well by voting him out. I respect the Liberian people. When we come together against something, shit, you can't help it. When we stand, we stand. And this is the time Liberian men will stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Muna. Jerry.
Yeah, Stephen and the others. The government came to power with a criminal mindset and BM. So as a result of that, they have institutionalized lies. And, I can remember one time the deputy press secretary said, "Oh, the president's son are playing football in America was the one who built the 9th Street residence." And they had to tell the son said, "Mama, you better tell your husband, I don't want my knee in that thing, otherwise I will speak to BBC." Yes. So the man was forced to tell Smith Tobe. It was from that moment that Smith Tobe, started staying up the press. And the man said, "No, it was a mistake. The president had not turned over the property to the son." So the government full of lies. It's something that criminal mindset, so the only way they can try to manage things. One day we'll bring Samuel to will say they're raising plenty of revenue. We got 10 million and the surplus or what. But then you get people protesting, making $40 for the $5. Distributing high level of indignity on the services of public servants. So the government is fake. I'm not surprised. We have been a BM and all the crooked things he got involved with. But if you are a government and trying to govern the affairs of our country, to deliver services, you must do that with honesty. You must do that with honesty. And that's why in Liberia, as you go to elections, The only person I see with all of the custom races that have that kind of honesty that since he started government, people been checking a criminal record, whether he stole, we stay waiting for the criminal record. That's Joseph Boakai. So the government is a BN government, will always expose their lies. Thank you very much, Stevie.
Thank you, Jerry. Yonto.
Stephen, we have been lying since we entered politics. I remember in 2005, the CDC had a popular campaign, a popularist conversation around whether he graduated from high school or not. And they told the masses of our people that we did graduate from high school at the same time was playing football.
University from Pagu High School.
Yeah, he was playing football in Europe.
That's how you graduated from Pagu University.
Yeah. So the CDC has been designed by design. The construct of the philosophical idea as it relates to taking state power is to win state power at all costs, whether it costs you to lie, and to sustain it on, on the foundation of lies. So that's what we have seen over the years. So this comes as no surprise. Weir's energy, his appetite for money surpasses anything I can imagine. The man just loves money. Look at the story we heard about from Reginald Gurus just recently when he decided to open up. He said, we are Camp, the Lone Star, the game that's supposed to qualify us in 2002. He went to President Taylor and asked for $30,000 in order to camp the guys at Hotel Monrovia, somewhere on Carey Street at the time. And he took the $30,000 and went on 9th Street in his basement and camped the national team and started dancing cha-cha slide. So this guy, raw appetite for money, has always been, he has outlived everything that you can possibly imagine, including his career. It's always been about money. And then we took a whole country of 5 million people and hoping that we would dramatically, magically transform the lives of people in poverty. We are about self, and we are alone. So this comes as no surprise. Now, to add fuel to fire, right? Just, the World Bank is having a spring meeting, I think just a day or two ago. Samuel Toure was invited as a guest to the Center of Strategic Development. And they asked Samuel Toure about this whole green economy and climate change and how Liberia is working to adapt, and he made mention of this same UAE deal. How the UAE have provided $50 million for Liberia, and multilateral companies, multilateral development banks are holding on to their money. So they are turning on to the Middle East now. So that's by design. The government's plan is to lie to the Liberian people continuously and hope that these fights cannot come up. Look at the kind of disgrace this is. Just one man, that disgrace you, bring the facts out in less than no time. You're not sophisticated, you won't be lying, as if the whole country can't read and write. I mean, it's a shame.
And thank you, Larama. That's how embarrassing it has become. Under the We Are presidency, the country is, and the sad part is the notion, and I think Daniel spoke about this, is the notion that the country is, that the population is not sophisticated enough to be able to determine the lies. And one of the things I often tell people is, when it comes to propaganda, and spreading lies, you cannot use propaganda against people that are struggling, because you're pretty much insulting their intelligence. That's what you're doing. You're pretty much insulting their intelligence. If you one end says that the country is booming, economic prosperity, the budget is generating surplus revenue, we've been able to grow the budget, then in the same token, Then in the same token, you are essentially not paying people as low as $45 a month. You cannot even pay the salary. In the same token, the prices of basic commodity, household items, the issue of rice, oil, a bag of coal continues to rise. They've not been paid, the money being reduced, prices going up, and yet and still you're telling them that we're collecting record-breaking revenue. We're signing a $50 billion deal with the UAE government. The government of Hungary have given us $50 million. The Sultan in Qatar have given us $100 million to do the Lofa rule. And then I see you wasting quota water on Rawafi Highway. The layer. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a road engineer. Neither do I profess to be one. But the thickness of the road on the Rawafi Highway is like a floor mat. The floor mat. I saw one of the government apologists bragging about the road. I told him, say, let it just rain for 1 week. Let it just rain on that road 1 week. Water, why that quota water for on that road? And you see how embarrassing it is. The thickness of the road is like a floor mat. You know, when you go buy a mattress in the store, they get those mattresses. When you buy it the first day, you think is way up. You say, yeah, the other one part is a good buy. By the time you sleep on that mattress for 1 week, the mattress tend to floor mat. Your own mattress that was way up there. That mattress that sink. And you don't know, everybody know those sponge mattresses they used to say. You see it on the first day on your head, you happy.
Yeah.
You lay down there after 1-2 nights.
Yeah, it will begin to compact.
It begin to compact.
When I think that all the stuff will be on your head when you wake up, man.
It was sitting in the middle and then it started hair back when you sleep on it.
When you lay down in the middle, you go in the pool, the other edges way up. When you lay down certain way, you gotta get back or play. That's the kind of thing the government over us. You facing road.
How about with the Bali Island?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Another issue, the Bali Island. You lie about Bali Island. You know, that RIA road, let's give it 1 week of rain and let's see how it survives. You know, that rain, that rain. Can you imagine? One lie after the other, one lie after the other. And yet and still, these guys, they want us to take them seriously. You know, I'm hoping Senator Dillon can join us. We're almost at 9:30 Liberian time. Hoping Senator Dillon, if you're listening, Senator, it's almost 9:30. Hoping you can join us so that we can talk on this Liberty Party issue. I know it's a big trending issue, and many of our listeners want to know about it. So guys, before we get to Senator Dillon, I just wanted us to reflect a little bit. I know many of us have read through the pages of history, and April 12th, this day, 1980, is a very troubling day in our nation's history. It's a period when the country's history was altered. For the good, for the worse, well, it depends on where you stand in history. But for the most part, people thought it was altered for the worse. That if the argument of the 1980 was that those who presided over the state were corrupt to the extent that it cost them their lives, then it means preceding government after the 1980 should have done better. They should have been better. They should have focused more on improving the harsh economic conditions of the people. And so you executed 13 persons on the poll who you believe had squandered public resources. According to you, many of them had luxurious bank accounts. And so you executed them. You executed them because they served their country. And according to you, they squandered opportunities. They corrupted the status quo, corrupted the system. They made millions of dollars, according to you. They built flashy mansions. They built homes. They sent their children overseas to good schools. And so you felt that there was a need for us to alter that. Now, you succeeded in altering it in 1980, April 12th, on this day, 43 years ago. When the PRC took over immediately after the coup, they started washing their cars with beer. The very same people who had said that these people were corrupt, they They had mismanaged public resources. The same PRC guys were washing their cars with beer. They started building homes. Today, some of those homes are abandoned. For instance, if you go to Swedru, the house of the late Samuel Doe is abandoned in Swedru. Grass growing all in it. You go across all of those guys who were members of the PRC.
You're going too far, Famuma, right?
Yeah, Famuma. They can barely paint it. And so 43 years later, the country is at its worst. In fact, one of the sad realities about Liberia that I'm often ashamed to talk about is in development studies, most countries have their glorious years ahead. The past has always been the troubled past. And so they look back and say, this is where we were, and this is where we are today. Unfortunately, in Liberia, the years of which we consider as our glorious years, those years are behind us, which is the complete opposite of progressive development, which is the complete opposite of upwalking real mobility, the forward march of nations into prosperity, into developed world. How come we have better schools in the 70s, in the 80s than we have now? How come we have better students in the 80s, 70s, 60s than we have now? Better roads, fire hydrants in the street, road signs than we have now. 43 years later, Liberia is still struggling, grappling with all of the challenges. You have a government that's irresponsible, a government that has failed to live up to the expectation of the people that elected her, a president who understands fundamentally nothing, has no idea about moving a needle, not even managing the soccer team. Somebody said to me that even while we are playing at the level he played in Europe, no European club team saw it by any mistake whatsoever to even give we are the captain band. Because in professional soccer, for you to hold the captain band is a matter of leadership. Not how much goal you score or how much you can play on the field, how much you're able to manage your colleague, how much you're able to provide leadership, guidance on and off the pitch. And if none of those professional coaches who built we are up, whether it was from his days at Tonnerre, PSG, AC Milan, Chelsea, Man City, Abu Dhabi, and all those clubs, none of those clubs saw it fitting that this guy will even serve as a captain. Came to the national team, was made technical director, squandered the opportunity. When Lone Star had a chance of going to the World Cup, what happened? A day or two before a crucial match against Ghana, Lone Star player was at a wedding ceremony, drinking beer. I still remember that morning when we were leaving home because we used to go on the field early. We met Cesar Rabo in the Concordan Bell, just coming from, I don't know where, going back to the camp. What happened before our very eyes at SKD? We lost to Ghana 2-1 and ruined our chances of qualifying for the World Cup. Whether that opportunity will come again in our lifetime, I doubt it. The quality of football Liberia is playing, I doubt we can even go Nations Cup. All of our neighbors went to the last Nation Cup. Sierra Leone, Guinea, Ivory Coast, all of them went to the Nation Cup. A man who, his greatest successes in life came through football. What is the state of football on Liberia, on George Weah? Football is at its worst. For almost 5 years, we could not play a home game. Lone Star can barely win a game. I can't even remember when Lone Star won a game. The national team is at its lowest. You drop in ranking. Even Elling, who did not play keeper, have better ranking than you. The Lone Star under George Weah is the least funded national team of Liberia ever. You get $1,000 US in budget for grassroots football development. $1,000 US. Some other places now like other sports that 500, 300. But this is the thing that made you. This is the football that brought you to prominence. You can barely support football under your administration. And you have the audacity to want to come to the same Liberian people and beg for second term? What is your reliance? What are you depending on? What are you depending on to ask for second term? You should be embarrassed. You should be begging the Liberian people now for forgiveness. That in November of 2017, an election that all of us questioned, we still agree that you won. We agree for the sake of peace, as usual, as we say in Liberia, you won. Many Liberians have hope in you that the boy from Gibraltar who went through the slums of urban communities, who have transformed their lives, who have turned their conditions for the better. What did you do first week in office, the first year in office, first 6 months? To build your own homes, reform, build 49 condominium for yourself, started flying private jet, refurbish your 9th Street resident, increase the budget in your office, added your wife in the national budget. West Point State cannot even benefit from a fitting house that you build or anything. The people of West Point, the people of Nukutown, the people of Claratown, the people of Doe community, many of who stood in the line to elect you. What have you done in 6 years to change their life? Under your administration, more than 600,000 persons have drifted into poverty. Hunger has increased in Liberia. The latest report shows that more Liberians are hungry today and food insecure than they were 6 years ago. In the Southeast, it's even worse. The majority of the population in the Southeast are food insecure. Many of our people die from communicable diseases. So what really have you come to do to change the condition? What can you point to? These mediocre makeshift projects? When people can barely eat, you bailing back. Hungry man can play sports. There's nowhere hungry man can play sports. And these are the harsh reality. These are the harsh conditions. These are the issues that Liberians will vote on. Liberians will not vote because opposition they unite. Liberians will not vote because they say, oh, opposition never ready. Liberians should vote on the basis, and Liberians will vote, and I expect Liberians to vote on the basis of their own condition. Is your left better off today than it was 5 years ago? What have you achieved in the last 6 years under this guy who you consider a boy from Gibraltar? Are your children in school? Can you afford to buy a bag of rice today than 5 years, 6 years ago? Can you afford to pay rent? Is your salary enough to even take you from your office to the main road before I say reach home? Can Papa reach home with $45? Can Mama reach home with $45? Can you feed your children on a $45 income on a monthly basis, an income that has been reduced to 60 days equal 1 month under this administration? These are the sad conditions. These are the issues I believe Liberians will vote on. So guys, your take, just some historical reflection about this day and what it meant for you and where is Liberia headed under this tragedy of a presidency. Pierre, Yonton, Jerry, Paul, Daniel, everybody, just reflect about what is happening in the country.
Well, let me come in there. Saint Pierre still thinking. What's happening is something that we can't think about. I don't know how those people are actually managing with $45. I really can't wrap my mind around a person or whole or family going to work every day.
Daniel, you got to mute. We're getting feedback from you.
Expected to go to work every day and come home. And then at the end of the month, not even at the end of a month, but at the end of 2-3 months, they expect to get $45. I don't know if that's the high order. That has never happened in the history of Liberia. I don't know how we came to this point. I don't know how we got here. I don't know why people are still living in Liberia and not really protesting. Nobody can understand what really happening right now. Liberia has deteriorated to an unthinkable position that nobody in the world can understand. Nobody can say, I went to Liberia last year, $45. One get on motorbike from because of the traffic, you get on pimping from here to town. They ain't charging you anything small. They will tell you $10 US, oh man. I said, but what you make it $10? Why you're not using LD in your country again? Everybody got their own price. Everybody doing their own thing. Nobody goes by the price before. Everything have changed. The red light, I left Liberia 2019, Stephen. The red light at the junction there, the Boulevard junction. I don't know whether that red light is working or not working, but nobody care about whether that light is on or not on. Taxi will come from this side and park. Another car come and park like you want to hit the taxi. Everything is just helter-skelter. Nobody care for nothing. There police standing there, police not even doing anything. Police, they are doing their own thing. They didn't care to regulate the traffic or do anything. How did we get here? How did we get here? How can we call this a country of our own with so much unreasonable acts? How did we get here? And then we say we put how many men at the polls on this day 43 years ago for this same thing called corruption? Are you kidding me? And at the end of the day, we are the height of it. We are at something that when we think about it, all you want to do is to get a white handkerchief and cry. When you think about what's happening in Liberia, you only want to cry, Stephen. You can't really get over how we got to this, how we got here. Liberians will need to wake up. Liberians will need to think back. Men died for no reason. They said they were corrupt. They were hanged like chicken on a pole. They said they were corrupt. Now, after their death, 43 years ago, here we are. We are celebrating corruption in Liberia. People see white and call it black. People see black and call it white. Or men that Samuel Jackson shouldn't even be mentioned in our politics anymore. He is not, he doesn't have that moral right to be represented in our politics anymore. Nobody should even call him or call his name or mention him because he's only after he's better driven. Somebody who coming from way down the line. I have respect for him because I didn't know him. It was Costa. I usually follow Costa's show. But Costa always called this man my friend Samuel Jackson. So I had a respect for him. So sometimes you should be careful who you call friend. Especially those who in the forefront. Be careful who you call friend. Because people will have no business or having respect for some or corrupt person because they are friend to somebody who they respect. This man, he got respect for nothing. He got respect for himself. He sit down and brag about on social media all the time. He went to Liberia and sell out. Went and Nathaniel Magay gave him little money, and before you knew it, he was out of the picture. He had flip sides. Are you kidding me? Is this what we kill? Is this the reason why we kill Tahiti men? Is this the reason why we put them on the pole and condemn them to death? For this to happen, and everybody in Liberia sitting today and watching our so-called bishops, our so-called pastors who's supposed to be at the pulpit and bringing this government to book, they have sided with the government. Their wives who's supposed to stand today and call for justice, women who's supposed to be in the forefront calling for justice, what are they doing? They are standing by their husbands. They are being tight-lipped. Nobody can say anything to this disgrace of a situation that happening to Liberia. But Stephen, I want to differ with you that Liberia, the best days of Liberia is still ahead of us. All we need to do is to get rid of this thing called government, this cult of a government. Liberia, we will rise. And we will rise higher. My today voice. I thank you.
Very, very passionate comments there, Mona. Thank you for your thoughts. Daniel,
Yeah.
let me hear your thoughts on April 12th, 1980 and how and the current situation in the country under George Weah.
I think just opposing the reality of April 12, 1980 to that of the realities that the country is confronted with for the 3 years after the coup is nothing but a complete historical contradiction. It's what we call in literature is a situational irony. Now, I started my day by writing a piece on Facebook this morning, and I recounted the 43 years after the coup that Pierre talked about, and I went on to say that 43 years after the coup, Liberia is one of the poorest countries on the planet Earth. 43 years after the coup, Liberia is lagging behind in every aspect of human invention, economic viability, and infrastructure development. What did we learn from the coup? What did we learn from the violent dethronement of a democratically elected government, of a constituted authority? We've learned zero. Zero. Because when you look at the reality is that for the 3 years after, but before I go to that point, part of the reason why the 17 enlisted men gave to the public or to the world for the justification for the coup was, like Pierre said, rampant corruption. A compromised judiciary that didn't work for the poor people. Okay? Political marginalization. Tribalism. Let us look at the structure of the Liberian society today for the 3 years after. Are these vices not permeated every facet of the Liberian society? Of course they have. Even on a more pervasive scale. The country is more divided than it was 43 years ago. Today, brothers and sisters cannot sit on the same table because one person believes that they don't support the ruling government. But the catch-up point here is, as Stephen and other colleagues, for the 3 years after, the country has an indigenous president. For the 3 years after, the country has a quote-unquote indigenous vice president. For the 3 years after, the country has a quote-unquote indigenous speaker of a legislature that is predominantly of indigenous men and women. The country has a president pro tempore who is supposed to be an indigenous man. The country has a cabinet that is predominantly occupied by indigenous people. Has anything changed? Is corruption a history in the country? No. I do believe if we were to put the realities on the table in terms of economic viability of the 80s and what we have now, I'm sure the size of the national budget in the 80s was far smaller than what we have now under George Weah. The Weah government be 43 times corrupt than the Ottawa government. Because it's for the 3 years after. So the Weah government will be graded as being 43 times more corrupt than the Ottawa government. So nothing has changed. We are a country of nothingness. We don't learn from our mistake. Even the historical antecedent to the Liberian crisis, we have failed to memorialize these things. We have failed to learn our lessons. What kind of country we are? What kind of country we are? Just a few days ago, we celebrated April 6th. All the massacre that were committed during the war years, we said 250,000 of our kinsmen died in the senseless carnage that was carried out in this country. There's no national memorial. So talking about where the country is for the 3 years after April 12, 1980, it is as if nothing has happened. It is as if we didn't kill a president in broad daylight here for corruption. It is as if we didn't kill 13 men on Redemption Street for corruption. There are officials of government who still carry themselves as godfathers. Look at McGill, for example. I was surprised. Just a couple of days ago was his wife's birthday. Last year, when he was Minister of State, he built a mini island for his wife. Where did he get the money from? I mean, this is somebody who could not even afford to pay his house rent in a 2-bedroom apartment. McGill suddenly became, a multi-millionaire. And everybody hailed him McGill. So, I concluded by saying, and I read up, that maybe we need another revolution, but this time in a different manner and form. Because what I see in everything that's happened for the 3 years after the coup is that patriotism and nationalism is not a priority for government after government. Whether they're from the American Liberian background or they're from the quote-unquote indigenous background, everything, all the better struggle for power has only been about improving their personal well-being and deepening the size of the pocket. If somebody had told me that the weird government be more corrupt than the Doe government, I wouldn't have believed it. But time and circumstance has shown to us that all the bitter struggle for power, it's not about the people. It's not about making a difference. It's about increasing the size of the checkbook and building mansions overnight. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Daniel. Good reflection there. Pia.
Well, like I said, and you know, when I spoke initially about this April 12 stuff, why I don't implore any of you to make public declaration of your ages, which are your personal affairs. For me, I'm happy for the public to know that God is blessing me with age. That's one reason why I always call my age, and I'm very proud to say.
Yeah, I was around that time.
That's why I'm very proud to always say July 27 this year it will be my 56th birthday. Because look around, Stephen, you see how many people die young. Sometimes they live, they don't respect anybody, they eat all kinds of stuff. So there's no way I'm one person who will not have my age. So by the time of the coup, I was age 13. And you know, 13, you could see things and you know what was happening around you. You know, and today look around Monrovia. I saw a report today, I think Front Page Africa carried out a story that Liberia ranks 118 among hungry nations. Nation where people are hungry and almost starving.
It's actually 113, yeah.
Okay, 113, whatever it is, but maybe I didn't look at the figure well. But 113 even is no small figure in the global basket. You know, but I remember at age 13 before the coup, I was not born into a privileged family. And my father, the Reverend James Wapia, who people in Basel know very well, including Nyabli's father and everybody from her background, was a poor man who always had enough to eat. Some of my brothers and sisters were in the Catholic school. I mean, people could find a way to survive, people could afford. And eventually we said everything was bad. But some of the very people who helped to spearhead some of the things that happened were not solely isolated. They were part of the system. What many of them were doing at the time was wanting to fit in. Nobody want to call themselves Jerolime Pia. So maybe if I live with a Johnson, and I would take the Johnson name and say my name Jerolime Johnson. And I'm sure all of you here know the history of one of the most respected progressive. I respect him. When I want to count progressive, those are people I count. Dr. Tipote, who feel proud of his name. But just to survive and fit in our system, he used to be, I think, Rudolph Johnson or something.
Rudolph Roberts.
Rudolph Roberts, yeah. So all kinds of things happen true. But the way things were portrayed as the basis of the execution, at least from age 13 as I could see, not why it was. But we killed them. Probably one of the most justifiable reasons I could see, maybe somebody could say marginalization, because yes, they have some of the very native boys who were challenging them, working with them. They educated some of them. Malcolm Matthew and other people got educated by the True Party regime. You know, so I think it was mostly about also power. But for the progressive angle, and anytime I say progressive, I want to be clear, the real progressive, because a lot of people call themselves progressive who were not progressive. You know, for them, it was about buffering democracy, because even though things were much better in my mind, and that's my personal opinion, and I'm doing so comparing what has happened after that period up to where we are, yes, things were better. But it was still about democracy, because what was unfolding was not anything democratic. So the progressive and the real progressive were trying to champion the cause of democracy. Unfortunately, they did not have the chance to transform the nation in a way that they got to dethrone the Tower government democratically. And a group of military people, the highest person among them being a high school graduate. So that historical accident started from there, not just where we are. Highest person among them being a high school graduate, seized power. Some of the progressive guys, yes, had to take up position because they brought the level of consciousness in the society that made everybody to be in a state of agitation. So if a group of military people, if the highest person among them being a high school graduate, seized power, and the progressive, the true progressive at the time say, hands off, you can imagine where the country was going to go in the immediate aftermath. Because I'm told that even the kind of executions the guy wanted to make, if some of the progressive people were not around to stop it, a lot of people were supposed to die. And they kept the execution, even though 13 men, away from most of them. So most of them went in to think that they could manage it, because it was clear, group of soldier people were higher being high school, they will not run a country. But eventually, among the ethnic group of the men who seized power were some educated people. Dr. Bode, who was a PhD already. These men entrenched themselves, took charge of their kingsmen, and started to instigate, putting these progressive guys who got involved to see whether they could help against the military leaders. And the history is clear. All the guys started leading government one after the other. Tipote, Fambule, Matthew, but all of them, until Doe decided that it was not enough. He got a little bit educated, went to LU. He was modest, so he went to school. He went to LU. He got some conscience there. So he was not okay now. He said, "Well, we seized the thing. We said we're going to go back to the barrel, but I think I can be president proper." And he ran in 1985, beaten flat by Jackson Fiado. And he rigged the election. The reason why I talk until I reach this point, I saw a hot pepper newspaper, and when I saw a newspaper, I laughed because I know my man Philippi. At one point, you see Philippe will be ready, organize story supporting the government. When things get told, and I listening to Philippe, he knows how to write headlines and stories that will make you scared and you panic. And you come back in his corner. That's what Philippe headline today that talked about how Rick election was responsible for the war. Sending a message to the guys, maybe not very sincere about that message, because he said part one. And I told you, I know the man. He can run a whole series on you straight to part 10. And you'll be in a state of fear because it's a kind of agitation all by itself. Especially at the time you're going to the election, somebody is reminding you, oh, bro, the war was cool. I mean, what Rick election? Could he be aware of something for we read the story? Yeah, maybe you know you want to rig the election. And you're reminding him, my man, the election you want Rick, the war we fought that Rick election brought the thing. You know, but so I intentionally came until I reached this point. But just in summary, sometimes I sit down and believe that Talbot and those 13 persons died in vain. Because the things for which we overthrew them, they are rampant today. Corruption, uncontrollable. Marginalization, you want to talk about that? Even the so-called Congo boss, I mean the so-called country boss, are marginalizing other country people. We hear Mobile Molu then go to the party headquarters and say, we extrapolate you until you join us. You will not find anything to do here. We extrapolate you, you will suffer, you will die.
Weaponize against you.
Yeah, they're not talking about the Congo boys. Congo boys like you and myself, who did not join their party that we don't want to talking about. It's not the same marginalization that people complain about for which they killed Toba. By the way, can anybody show me in Liberia where anybody who work in the government of the Congo people, I don't want to say just Toba, but for all the Congo people that led the country for 133 years, can anybody show me where any of them buried their family members in a mausoleum? Show me one. Look at their graves. Look at the places they bury people. In some cases, no fall. They put them in the ground, put dead over it. The country people who said the Congo people were wicked, they came and started building mansions for their dead when the living are living in houses and huts that are leaking. I mean, we gotta be honest with ourselves here. No lessons learned, especially with the generation of people that are in power. You saw somebody in the early years, she tried to find her balance. She had background with both parties, Congo and Native. They're looking for people here, there, and mixing. And some of the list of country boys who had the chance to experience government could not have. She was trying to build something. Historically, our country is supposed to be a cultural mosaic. That concept did not seem to exist. Ellen tried to rebuild that mosaic. George Weah tore it apart. Made more of a case of country boys against country boys. Just on account of who supports him and who does not. Have you asked yourself, Manitoba's son and Topman's son, all the death we're talking about in Liberia, have you asked yourself who they were? What about Nyeswa? Come from Bon County, Pelebe. Was Albert Peters, crewman, Gifted, Kruger. Who Matthew Innes, Pastor. Name them. When we had the country boys now that were killing their own people, just for power, and to hide their evil deeds. And somebody think we should be afraid to say these things because guys are ready to kill. Devils in there, everything they need inside but killing. McGill there, at least we forget. When you're in a government position, thing like that, the last time McGill was saying government when he went birthday, King social media almost crash. I don't see one post from anybody talking about McGill Web birthday. That's the society, that's the culture. All the government people can be posting people birthday page, and then leave a government job. It will not go 3 years, just 1 year. If you didn't build relationship for yourself, yeah, birthday can you see how many people post on Facebook say happy birthday, John Brown. It's about what they can get from you. And then the job itself is a borrowed jacket. So why are you killing people? Why are you murdering people? Just for naked power. Power that you cannot sustain for life. Power that goes away eventually. Why are you killing people? Why have you made the killing of Tobo and those 13 men to be in vain by the way you conduct yourself today? You are supposed to be the country people. I remember the songs in the street. Native woman born soldier. And the Congo woman born role. Don't we see the roads now? Look at the structures, the behind and building all over the place. Compare them with what you said the Congo people had. What did they have? And some will be so hard-led as Sam Jackson, who sat in your busy studio today and telling a Tobo grandson the man is stupid and justifying the killing of Tobo and almost want to fight the man in the studio. Samuel Jackson, who's been involved with every evil nonsense in the country. 100 can color was all around Ellington Hospital. And the Blambo Nursing Minister of Internal Affairs talking their own special consultancy, paying even more than some ministers. That's all they want. Today, the Southeastern Cabal is in power. He's a son of the Governance Commission. He's insensitive, attacking October on the day commemorating the death of his grandfather. If care is not taken, the end will be bad. And I mean nastily bad. For those people we have proven, we country people who are in power have proven that we murder them in vain. My thoughts, Stevie.
Thank you, Pierre. I hope Senator Dillon can rejoin us. I don't know whether he's having issue with his internet. Senator, if you're listening, can you please rejoin us so that we can talk about the Liberty Party? But those were excellent talks, Pierre, Muna, and
said anything?
No. Certain topic we don't want. We'll try to keep you up for it because he waited there in Banga there, and we're concerned about his.
But Larima hasn't spoken.
His well-being. Larima spoke.
No, I haven't. It's not going to be the last.
Oh yeah, then Larima, Jack, work with Senator Dillon. You there? We see you.
No, I'm not even spoken, Stevie.
Okay, so yeah, what we do?
So let me not go quickly, right?
So Larima quickly, then Jerry quickly, then.
Make sure the senator on so he can be that day senator level. We see again.
Senator, you all we see you in the background. I don't know whether you hearing us or you. See you. Your screen is dark.
When the senator leaves, Daniel will be forced to talk about that matter in detail if he has the information.
Yeah, but if you're listening, Senator Dillon, if you're listening, can you just let us know that you're following so that we can. But quickly, Yonta, just at least maybe a minute or two each so that we can just go quick into this issue.
Yeah. So my own analogy on what happened 43 years ago. I'll summarize it on 3 counts. The first thing is that, again, I'll re-emphasize that we need much more clarity on our history. And the second point I would like to raise is that there's absolutely nothing to learn from the history. If you really look at the men who carried out the coup, quote unquote, their revolution, it was not led by revolutionaries. The actual revolutionaries that were agitating before 1980 on
the
April 12th.
The senator said internet acting up, Steven.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, once it comes on, we'll
yeah, put in a chat room say internet acting up.
Were the progressives. And throughout our historical timeline since 1980, it seems to me that we have replaced one state of anarchy with another. So we had a coup in 1980. We had a rigged election in 1985. We had the first coming of the National Patriotic Front of Liberia that fell with Kwamba. We had the Second Coming of the National Patriotic Front of Liberia with Charles Taylor. We had a disruption of our constitution, different forms of constitutional interrogums, and 14 long years of civil war, 17 peace talk from one capital in West Africa to the next capital, everybody talking in our business. We say we'll not stop fighting. That's the ripple effect of what happened in 1980, led by a few men who had no understanding about history, who were not conscious enough, who did not even know the purpose for which they overthrew the government. When you listen to Doe's first interview, I think the U.S. journalist or some Western journalist asking, "Are you going to replace the policy of Turbo?"
They will continue the single party.
So there was no fundamental understanding. And it brings to mind a couple of questions, right? The first question is that if national election, general presidential election, was to be held in 1981, what was the urgency of the coup? Just think about it. How did Samuel Doe, Master Sergeant Samuel Doe, I listened to the OK Morning Rise this morning, and there was a young man who called and said that Nessie Doe was his auntie, and Nessie Doe was taken to their house for safekeeping, and Doe told us they were going on some kind of operation. So the entire design of the coup, how did it even start? We'd like to know. We have to dig deep into history. Because though we're not just sitting there and say, okay, you know what, 16 other men, I got control over you, let's go and overthrow the government. It's not possible. And then when you look at the historical international geopolitical context, Talbot was leading the Lone Alliance movement. The Cold War was, at its boiling point in 1980. America wanted a win at all costs over the Soviet Union. Talbot was leading the non-alliance movement. There was a major sitting of the Organization of African Unity that was to be held in August of 1980, in which majority bloc of the African countries that were part of the non-alliance movement was going to form a resolution against the United States. So there's a lot of international conspiracy. There's a lot of domestic conspiracy, but I truly believe that part of the reason why we have not learned anything from what happened in 1980, because those who led the process were alien forces. Those are people that were imposed on us so that history carried it in a way that we now read history. They're not led by revolutionaries. We've seen revolutionaries lead coup. We've seen revolutionaries take over in other parts of Africa. And what is the essence of the revolution? If the essence of the revolution is to replace state oppression, to bring about equality, we did not see it after the 1980 coup. In fact, there were more secret killings than we even witnessed on the likes of Talbot. Talbot was a reformer. He was willing to, I was reading one report, the Brunel's report, willing to put everything on the table for national reconstruction. He was willing to listen to all sides, including the progressive that were agitated. So he was not a dictator. So what was the essence when we replaced one small group of elite with another small group of native elite, and they put the whole country on an explosion? And in many years that followed, we're now seeing the ripple effect. So, George, we are in context is reading from the Samuel Doe playbook. George, we have always admired Samuel Doe. They play football together. Doe cherish him. Doe talking like a little brother. So the whole idea of Joshua wanting to be president started ever since. He thought it was just, a fun fair being president. You can play football with the president. Everything you see we are doing is an imitation of Samuel Doe. So he thinks that you steal and go, scot-free. You lie to the country. You have mysterious death under your watch and nothing comes out of it. But in 1980, human rights was not as vicious as it is today. The war is washing. So I think we have to go back to the roots of where we've come from. If we have to properly assert that we have to learn from the historical consequences of what happened in 1980 and other years in our history, we have to truly understand and find clarity and meaning to our history first in order to proceed with the discourse.
Very, very, very good analysis there. Jerry.
Yeah, Stephen.
Jerry, before you make your point, no, you're not going to hustle today, eh?
No, I'm about to leave. As I'm speaking now, just about to maybe conclusively conclude. Yeah, but I mean, all of you have spoken very well, and you could have put it better. It's actually unfortunate when the coup took place. Pull it out around, man. It was 1 year to the 1985 election before someone came. But yeah, what is actually disappointing after all of the things, without repeating some of the things Pierre and other people said that happened, coming from the 70s, people agitating for societal transformation, Pierre then, Stephen and everybody involved in some way with the student community, just for this country to be to have been a better place. But today, after 43 years, it's not an easy thing. You have a Liberia after 43 years, where the legislature have not been audited for more than I know how many years. Meanwhile, they are operating taxpayer money. If not the most corrupt government, legislature in the world, but it's very corrupt, operating at the detriment of the people they claim to represent. Today, if somebody is accusing president of being somebody sleeping with people to give them jobs, after 43 years, we hear all the lies that were cataloged by Mame and all sorts of stuff taking place in our country. Today, in our country, rape is everywhere. Our young girls and sisters are being abused after all this time. People misusing state resources, being condominium. What is the essence? Then why people kill themselves for? Then why they drink trouble? Yeah, some of the people, because of dishonesty, they come with conflicting account like Sam Jackson and other people. Sometimes they will say RRCE riot, or sometimes they will say RRGHTS riot, just to find space and be able to find themselves somewhere during these processes. But it's unfortunate that our country will be viewed globally today as one of the terrible regions to even visit. Sometimes you talk about Liberia, people say, but there we get, this is our country, they get full auditors down in 1 week. Is that, that's your country? Okay. The country where people are protesting. Today, civil servant cannot get serious salary. You come with fake agenda. The first thing government failed to understand, but nobody know what they got proposed in Liberia. Now you ask anybody, they will tell you, my man, I propose time and late, they are not plenty. So it has been, assimilated by the citizens that proper means suffering. Proper means suffering. If you call somebody, will say, I proper time, but small money, not plenty. So that is a kind of understanding because of reckless corruption, rampant killing, and all forms of intimidation against members of the opposition. And as I conclude, because it's 18 after 7, I would like to encourage our people. All of what transpired in the past, thank God we are came to, he served as president because he was tolerizing our democratic space too much. It's about time now that we already know this George Weah. Let us all galvanize our forces to support Omer Joseph Boakai, because this is a man who won second term and operating as though he doesn't want election again. Just imagine if you were to give him another 6 years. Just imagine, come to think of it. Come to think of it. So it is about time. All of our people, as the voter registration ended, let's go back. Those of us that are supposed to go to our region and get registered, let's go there. Today, the Southeast, after all these years, we had 27 years, we had 10 years with do. Now we're having 6 years with this man. Nothing has changed. Meanwhile, we have an opportunity to register so that we can vote Joseph Newman Boakai, the man who have an impeccable character, the man who is very committed to ensure that transformation takes place in our country. Let us vote for him. It's about time that we tell Weah that this thing, we already know. Whether in Nikutan, you wherever, today you can visit your home. After they say they will build coastal highway with all the fakeness, every other thing that the government has said, that fiasco. We are aware. Intimidating people, killing everywhere. When they break in the community, the other person. So, I mean, I would like to say thanks to all of our audience and to you all and our friends. It was a wonderful time. This 43 years, I think we have not changed the way people acted, for which we said we took them from power. Look at Capitol building. People of the children's, I mean, people of us, all of us, with the same. If you were to elect Jerry Yimpan today, you go, Jerry Yimpan will sit down and start looting. If they say they made superintendent, there are people money, take it, you eat it. Is that why people took that man from the office and killed him on April 12th? Let us all put our political thinking cap on, that our people deserve better. You look in the market today, things are tough. People cannot even find daily meal 3 times. Sometimes whole day you go also and come back way in the night before the children eat, exposing children to danger. That's why they are being killed everywhere. By the time you go to the Tago walk up all day, you go to extract their past, because parents are not maybe with the children. Children are winning bread for family. We did not pay all of these people the price on April 12th because we wanted to get this. So thank you ever so much, my dear brother. It was a wonderful time.
Thank you, Jerry. It's always a pleasure having you join us on the show. We're hoping to see you on Friday, God's willing. So have a wonderful rest of the evening, Jerry. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Stephen, let me address something that Larama said. Larama asked a fundamental question. He said elections were due 1981. So why was there the urge for a coup? Larama, if you follow Dr. Famule, I think in one of his books, he said the country was so tense and they built out. I mean, the build up to revolutionaries had grown to the extent that even a riot at a football pitch or at a football game would have led to violence. That's not far from where you are. Don't see people in Monrovia behaving the way they're behaving and you think it's okay. The same buildup is there. People are angry. People are mobilized. People are agitated. And that's the reason why when Philip Brown or published story the rig election, don't take it for a joke. People are so agitated and so mobilized to the extent that you would not believe where the bravery you never imagined of the people will come from if you are to rig an elections. And somebody will ask, what were the essence? Oh, the essence of the building is there. The building is there. I was listening to something from Eugene Facon, I think it was 2 days ago. And he was saying how people close to him from the president corridor was telling him how the president, since he came back from the US, has been behaving strange. He's been behaving strange. Doesn't look set up. But forget about what the people told you. Just look at the man that you knew yesterday as your president. Look at the Jefferson Koji and others. Do you see their morphology? Something must be worrying them. They're all massively dropping weight. Massively. Even with all the wealth they're living in. Something is bothering them. It saves them and saves the country if they dare not tamper with the elections. Because I think the thing is so ripe. So ripe. The formulas say of the 80s that an attempt to rig an election will have catastrophic consequences. So yeah, that's why the coup came, Larama. They look, and for me, without the evidence, I don't want to dive into hypothetical and hearsay. We don't put another 17 men overthrew what people did this, that, blah, 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 blah. But those 17 men took advantage of the prevailing situation in the country. They knew a revolution would have been embraced based on what was unfolding in the country and where the people stood. Mind you, now don't forget, you have just crossed the Res Riot, 1979. There were deaths, people were hurt, that people were killed. Troops came from Guinea to lend support to President Tobo. All these things anger people. They were just months away from those events. So the country was mobilized and the conditions were ripe. 17 enlisted men took advantage of it. They had no plan for your country. They had no plan because they had, and you made a good reference. I listened to that tip myself. What kind of policy you bring them? We'll continue with the same old policy. If you continue with the same old policy, why are you killing poor for? The same policy for which you put the poor on left poor? You say you continue with the same old policy? So they just took advantage of a situation. Progressives intervened to help to see whether they could guard the process. A few tribal bigots who were educated among their tribal groups brainwashed them, turned them against the progressive, seized power the way they wanted to, misuse it, and we saw how it ended. The only regrettable thing is that for the 3 years on, I can say with no regret that those people died in vain. And that we, the country people who believe that the minority, which are the Congo people, led us for 133 years, we said were unfair. And that their deeds were bad, we worse. Every time I see one country man come to power, it gives me the impression that no country will be, but it's hard to say because we got some good people. The family will say we got progressive Congo people and progressive native. We got reactionary Congos and reactionary native. I think what has happened is that the red people have not had a chance, particularly for us, the country people, being bad lucky, the people who have been a representation of us to provide leadership. The do, the we are the worst of our people.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Pierre. And I was hoping Senator Dillon would have come on for us to talk about this Liberty Party issue. Maybe Daniel can, because I haven't read it. Or the truth of the matter, I don't know what the ruling was. I have no idea.
Yeah, Daniel works in the political leader of the issue. Because I'm concerned. So why? I want to understand the ruling properly, and then the question is, so what next? After
that's how I'm hoping the senator will come on.
What next?
So the Supreme Court, the fourth bench of the Supreme Court said that they couldn't, after they read the ruling today, that they were not in the position to give the ruling out because there was, according to them, there was some technical issues that they had to correct before sending the ruling out. So they said by tomorrow the ruling will be given to the lawyers and we can pick it up from there.
So the senator having issues with the internet.
But you said they read something. What instrument? What did they read?
They read a ruling. But they said they can't give it to us because they did correct some technical issues in the voice.
So in summary, what did they read in summary?
Well, Senator Dillon is on, I think.
He's on now?
I see him just logged on. I don't know whether he's hearing us. I will. Okay, good. Welcome, Senator. How are you? It's good to see you. Hello?
Yeah, thank you, man. I have logged on almost 5 times.
Well,
My internet been giving problem.
So yeah, we're just talking about today the news of a ruling from the Supreme Court. We don't know. I haven't read it. I don't know what it said. I didn't follow it closely. We just wanted you to bring the country, the nation, your listener up to speed. What is it? What is the ruling? What is it about? What's next for the Liberty Party, and just to keep all of us in sync with the current trends of event within your party.
Yeah, thank you. Let me say good evening to everyone in Liberia and good day wherever you are. A special greeting to partisans of Liberty Party home and abroad. Yes, the Supreme Court did a ruling today. Normally when the court rules, it reads its ruling and the judgment also. Then it gives copies to the parties. But the court has not released the ruling. They say they have some technical issues with the ruling and they want to correct the technical issues so that we can get copies tomorrow. And then we'll sit with our lawyers to do analysis of what the ruling is. But in fact, the court ruled today that it believes that Liberty Party Constitution of 2021 is valid. The court says Justice Kaba's ruling on the writ of certiorari to stop the Elections Commission from investigating what was happening at Liberty Party. The court also upheld that. Strangely, at the beginning of the arguments in the case at the full bench, Justice Kaba was made to recuse himself in keeping with the practice. Interestingly, today he sat on the very matter for the ruling, which is troubling. The court says any matter of fraud should be handled by a court because it borders on criminality, and the Elections Commission has no jurisdiction over matter of fraud. From the reading of the ruling, is confusing because the court is saying that even election fraud, when somebody goes to election and they complain of fraud, you don't begin with the Elections Commission, which is very strange. But we'll take our time to read the ruling tomorrow, and then we'll make analysis of it. But meanwhile, the political leader of the party will speak formally to this issue. After we do the analysis tomorrow, there will be a major press conference with the partisans, and the press conference will be on Saturday in Grand Bassa County. We remain very upbeat. We understand that we have these legal issues, but it has taken on political tone even at the court. The court reminds me of 2017, which strangely ruled that the case for fraud against the 2017 election, the case was made, but the court said the fraud was not sufficient enough to overturn the result of the election, and that was strange in law. Those who understand the law, the lawyers of this country, home and abroad, were shocked at that court ruling because the legal maxim is that fraud vitiates everything. Any amount of fraud detected in anything, it takes away the validity of the entire thing. But the court said, oh no, you made an argument for fraud. It's true, we saw fraud, you prove it, but it's not sufficient enough to overturn the result. And that was strange, but in the spirit of respect for rule of law, the Liberty Party led by Councillor Bronskin as disappointed as we were, we had to live with it because that's the last resort and recourse we take when it comes to the issue of law. The issue of a Labor Day Party now is more political. It's deliberate intent to undermine the growth of the party, but we will brainstorm on it over the next few days and we'll make a public official statement through the political leader of the party on Saturday.
Thank you. So two quick questions.
So we want to call on our partisans home and abroad to remain hopeful. Yeah, okay.
So two quick questions, Senator Dillon. And I know
you're saying something?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The first question is, considering that the...
Yeah, it's buffering, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's from your end. Considering that the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of judgment, you know, what other options do we have? If the Supreme Court rules, there's no other place we can take that verdict. You know, is the final arbiter of judgment. The second point is, and then this is where a lot of Liberians are concerned. What does this ruling in you know? I want you to explain it for somebody for a layman, you know, who hasn't read the law, don't know anything. What does it say, and what are the next course of action? I mean, I know the political leader will speak on Saturday, but just, you know, because a lot of Liberians been reaching out, you know, they come in here, they want to know what's happening, they concern you, and you know, rightly so too, because we're at a critical stage in the political process. We know we're going to an elections. The Liberty Party is one of the leading opposition political party in Liberia, and the longer this conflict persists, the worse it is for all of us, especially those in the opposition. So this is why everybody is concerned. Yeah, we lost the senator there. I don't know what part of Miami he at today. And normally he will get one of the best internet, but Daniel internet stable. Daniel appear shining in internet.
But Daniel, let me ask you this question before the senator comes back.
Yeah, just 1 second, please. They Prince Dolly got be asking. Prince, as stated, Mo Ali is running in district. Which district is that?
District 5.
Ali is running District 5. So Ali being busy with campaign-related activity. Ali is having meetings, community meetings. By the time he's done, it's late to join the show. But he's with us. Nothing has happened. Ali is just busy with his campaign-related activities. Senator, you back. You got my question. Can you talk about it?
No, I was finding it very difficult to get you, and the thing keep buffering and keep going off by itself. I've never had internet challenge this much for a long time.
Yeah.
So repeat the question. I'm here.
But Steven, you repeat the question.
So I wanted to, there's just two quick questions. The first one was, considering that we all know the Supreme Court is the final arbiter of judgment, what other options do we have in terms of the senator going again?
Daniel, here's my question. When the senator said the Supreme Court in essence ruled that the 2021 constitution of your party is correct, so you had a dispute over two different constitutions, right? You muted, so I'm not hearing you. You muted.
Like the senator said, the ruling contradicts a lot of things, because in the first place, we have anticipated for the court to rule on the issue that was brought before it.
No, let me get this question answered first. Did you have two constitutions in contention?
Well, following the Banga Convention, there were allegations that Musa altered the party constitution, and those allegations of constitutional tampering were proven by the Farmington MOU that he signed up to, admitting to the alteration. So yes, there has been a dispute around the constitution of the party. And when we went to the Supreme Court initially, Justice Wolokoli had mandated us to correct the constitution in keeping with the details of the Farmington MOU and resubmit same to the NEC. Again, Fidelity will put up a non-compliance posture and NEC will not act. After we had a protest at NEC and drew the attention of our international partners to what NEC was doing, that NEC were very complicit in the Liberty Party conflict and that they were enabling Mr. Fidelity to destabilize the party, the NEC said, okay, we would now look into Liberty Party complaint. When they called the case, looking into the complaint, the lawyer went and filed motion to dismiss the case. So his two motions were defeated at the level of the hearing officer and at the board of commissioner of the NEC. This is how Fidelity went to the Supreme Court on two petitions, on certiorari and prohibition. Joseph Kaba being the justice in Chimo, outright denied the petition for prohibition and then convened a hearing into the petition for the writ of certiorari. When the certiorari hearing was concluded, I think a week or two after, he ruled that he will issue the writ. And that's how we're talking appeal to the full bench. So the issue that was before the court is not what they rule on. We didn't go to them for constitutional dispute. We went to them as to whether certiorari will lie in this case. Because if you say certiorari will lie, you are simply saying NEC does not have the authority to look into the complaints. Okay, they agree. They assume we are agreeing that there are a couple of, because it's a whole complaint, right? About 67 counts. They agree one or two of the counts talk about constitutional tampering. Does it in any way undermine they want to talk about wrongful filing before the commission? So the ruling today talking about NEC does not have the authority to investigate allegation of constitutional tampering or fraud with political party document. It contradicts a lot of things, because if elections are held and somebody alleged fraud, where do you go? The NEC has always been the court of first instance for political parties and for individual contesting elections. So this is why I said that the Supreme Court is now confusing us, because some of them fail to realize that the ruling they gave you on this matter will be read by posterity. So the logic they're making there is so confusing. Talking about fraud, vitiate, and you say that big fraud or small fraud. Now you're saying to us, NEC does not have the authority to investigate fraud.
So the question, we still are, I'm not, if I'm finding it difficult to get clarity, I'm sure the listening audience are getting clarity as well. So the thing is, NEC does not have, if the ruling was about NEC not having authority, so what NEC? That was my question. What NEC? Does it mean that the Liberty Party case that was at NEC has to be taken from NEC and taken to a court of law, send the Supreme Court say no longer NEC responsibility, or what is it? Is it say if it is recognizing the constitution that were in dispute, which you people say was tampered with, is the Supreme Court by any means saying that constitution is the constitution of the Liberty Party, and that whatever NEC was investigating by that constitution, they had no authority to do it, and that you can only talk about that, and that you can only talk about that constitution being tampered with now in a court of law, or is a closed case, or what it is? Does it say now that Musa Biddity and his whosoever are fully in charge of the Liberty Party? What is it? I think that's what the public.
That is why we said in the absence of laying hand on the ruling.
Because just to say, just before you come in, I see comments here, because most of our people can be here, they be following another show also. So Musa Biddity is supposed to be on 160 Network Spoon, and some have written here that Musa Biddity had declared openly on that medium that the court case by the Supreme Court ruling is over, and he's a winner of whatever case was before the Supreme Court, and whatever dispute Liberty Party had, that he is the winner. That's his interpretation. I'm told that he's giving on that sister program.
Yeah, but that's Musa for you. So the Senator Dillon said, we will have to listen to the lawyers to give a proper interpretation, because the court concluded by saying that the certiorari writ is issued and NEC should resume jurisdiction over the matter. So if the matter is already moot by virtue of the ruling, how can NEC again resume jurisdiction on the matter? So we have to lay hand on the ruling and seek interpretation of the ruling before we can begin to make any further argument. But as I stand right now, I mean, there are some things I was very clear about. That NEC does not have the authority to investigate the allegation of constitutional tampering, and that the Constitution of Banga, January 2021, is valid and remain in full. Okay?
Constitution of Banga 2021 is the one that's supposed to have been tampered with by Musa.
Yes.
And the Supreme Court say it's valid, even though there's a complaint that was tampered with.
And even though Musa himself had gone to an internal forum and signed a document, the MOU, that confirmed the alteration, yet the Supreme Court is saying to us that the document is valid. Even though the matter that was before the court has got nothing to do with the constitutionality of the document submitted by NEC, by Musa to NEC, Supreme Court raised an issue which was not brought before them. The issue that was before them is whether the hearing officer, committed reversible error by denying the motion for dismissal that was filed by Musa's lawyer. The Supreme Court declined to rule on that, but instead went on cherry picking on issues that was not even before them. So that's why we say we are baffled, and until the lawyers can take hold of the ruling. I mean, normally it is by precedent the Supreme Court rule, and the ruling is made public. For them to rule and say, oh, we still get a ruling, we're keeping the east side, we're going to do small technical work on it and everything, raises serious concern that will even draw the credibility of the court into question.
We don't somehow, the Supreme Court being the highest, that Stephen said, decision-making legal body, people want to be careful how they address it. But you see, when the court gets political, then there's no fear to talk about it. Because even here where we are, we see how even if the sitting President Biden, when the Supreme Court ruled on Roe versus Wade, President delivered a fiery speech and described the Supreme Court in all kinds of ways. So there are even deep questions about the Supreme Court here as well. Even read down, there's a discovery about a Republican donor who financed a luxury trip for one of the justices, Justice Thomas. That is so. Yeah, I'm saying this to say the court can be the court, but it doesn't stop people from saying what they think about the court. And part of the problem I see is that, and I will start from here. When the 17 enlisted men overthrew in 1980, there was a Supreme Court. But right after the overthrowing, that Supreme Court ceased to exist. Fortunately for them, all the 13 men that were executed, none were from the judiciary. When Charles Taylor brought the war, then they conquered the Doe government, there was a Supreme Court. That Supreme Court ceased to exist. We currently have a Supreme Court. When the country is allowed to slide into chaos, the Supreme Court that we have currently will not exist. Therefore, it is incumbent upon them to tread carefully in everything they do, especially like we said earlier, with how agitated the country is, with how mobilized the country is, with how tense the country is. We cannot have a Supreme Court that will be seen in the eyes of the citizenry as being a political weapon. Yes, we know how it was constituted. Chief Justice is a wife of an open supporter of Mr. Weah, a Senator Edwin Snow. Many of the other people placed there were based on tribal consideration. Justice Namwe, who was a lawmaker, Mr. Weah's kingsman, was placed there purely on tribal consideration. Judge Kaba, an attempt to please the Mandingos and Islamic people, after unlawfully moving Kabina Janneh, was given an opportunity. His loyalty is to Mr. Weah, who blessed him with being a Supreme Court justice. So to a greater extent, the Supreme Court there cannot be seen from an independent lens, but they could rescue their own reputation and and gain the trust of the public and the credibility they deserve when they are seen as being fair and transparent. Because if the public sees the different rulings that you're making and they want to hold you by that judgment, tomorrow when something gets wrong with the election, they're not going to take court as an option.
Of course.
That's the danger which I think the Supreme Court should open her eyes to. That if public trust is lost in the court and something happens tomorrow after the election, they're not going to see the court as an option.
You already compromised.
They're not going to see the court as an option. So the court has to be the court. The court got to demonstrate that people can trust it, that people can get justice if they go before the court. Anything short of that, especially the matters arising from the election, nobody will want to go to the court. We'll find options, unorthodox and extrajudicial options.
But Pierre, let me just hammer in this point. When you already said to the public through your ruling, because these Supreme Court ruling are not just meant to dispose of cases. They are meant to serve as a precedent guard for society. People frequently reference Supreme. Like this morning, I went to the office. Somebody was asking me, "What did the Supreme Court say to Liberty Party when they refused to certificate or to register Harrison Conway as Councillor Bromsky running in 2017?" I said, "Well, the Supreme Court ruled in part that Mr. Conway was in substantial compliance to the law, and that the NEC could not apply the highest punishment prescribed for violators against him because he was in substantial compliance." He said, "Oh, okay." So that's precedent. So when the Supreme Court say in a particular case that look, NEC does not have that authority to investigate matters of fraud in political parties, what are you saying to us? What are you saying to us? That NEC is no longer the court of first instance. Before any political party operates in the country, you have to be in good standing with NEC. All your documentation to be certificated every year, September 1st, you have to submit your financial statements and everything.
But where were the justices when Councillor Bronsky had concern about fraud in 2017? Wasn't the complaint first taken to the Election Commission, and after the Election Commission investigated and ruled the matter before Bronsky took flight to the Supreme Court?
Yes, but they were there.
Even in most of the cases, like Simeon Taylor case after the election, even Jeremiah Coons case after the election with Ide Gonglo, where all the cases went to NEC before they ended at the Supreme Court. So
even the UP case.
Yeah. So when NEC realized that the NEC is not supposed to be handling fraud, fraud cases, when they realized that.
And even when our lawyers because NEC has a guidelines and regulation for political parties, the lawyer went on to cite those, provisions within the regulation that even prescribe punishment for any individual who submit false statements and documents to the commission. The Chief Justice was there. What I want to do? Shouting, they won't lay there. What I want to do? The Liberty Party case here, you're going from place to place. We're not going to do anything for you. That's why. How can the justice of the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice, be talking on one street there?
Wow.
So, Daniel, just to ask you a question.
Is it about doing something for you or about applying the law? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Care is not taking, and people lost faith in the judiciary. It's a recipe for chaos, and that when that chaos comes, just say you and other justices will not be living in heaven. They'll be on earth. They could be victims of what they are creating themselves. They just got to know that.
Yeah, Tanya, how does this affect the party as in putting up a candidate for this coming election? Whatever is the candidate, whether standard bearer or, okay, they say the Liberty Party not going to put up a standard bearer, but senatorial and all that.
So there's a point. There's a point, and like Senator Dillon said, we had a legal case that was very good, but unfortunately, it has taken a political trend. And all of us can see the reason why the people in government and our other people in opposition want to see the Liberty Party in a complete disarray. Because they do believe that with the position that the dominant front of the party has taken, somebody cannot survive politically. So what they can do is to sustain this conflict in the party. There's an election matter. We spent over 2 months at the Supreme Court. We got election in less than 7 months. Supreme Court will be expediting the hearing of all electioneering cases. How will the party feature political candidates in this election? It's a matter of concern. It's a matter of concern. So this hearing does not give Mr. Beatty the carte blanche to say Liberty Party is his personal property. There were issues raised against him in the suit. And those issues don't border on the standing of the political leader. Those issues don't border on the membership of the political leader. So she will be the political leader of the party. We will be partisans of the party. But there were issues that we sort of disposed of before the court. Unfortunately, the court decided to be political. So they acted in a political manner. And that's why, for the first time in our history, we see the Supreme Court ruling. We cannot have access to the ruling. So the issue of featuring candidates is a matter of concern for us. And we are going to take that with the National Election Commission. The political leader will be speaking on Saturday. After the press conference, the necessary steps will be taken.
But you all can see that even the Election Commission is completely compromised. So even if you take it to them, what's going to happen? The Election Commission are going to help. What's about taking it
At this point, we brought sufficient pressure to bear on the commission. After the protests were held, we written several communication, the English communication, were very fast in responding whenever Beatty writes. Those are some of the basis of the protest. And the petition statement that was submitted to the international partners. So when NEC decided to act, all the concern that Beatty raised there and said NEC has already ruled, they're asking for ruling. You said NEC has ruled. Where's the ruling in the case? He displayed a letter reading multiple reads, but there's the administrative decision. The NEC as an administrative agency has quasi-judicial authority and administrative authority. If an agent of the NEC takes an administrative decision, it cannot be compared or equated to a legal decision reached by the Board of Commissioners. And they said that. And even before the Supreme Court, the lawyer said, oh, the NEC already decided. The lawyer said, submit a ruling. When a matter is decided, there has to be a ruling. There has to be a judgment to every decision made by a tribunal.
Well, I wish the Honorable was here today so that we'll be able to really take it up with him. Because
I think we should go to the phone lines.
If at all we can get redress from our own courts and NEC, we can take it to the ECOWAS court. The ECOWAS court is a court of the region. And I'm sure they can do something for us at this point.
ECOWAS could take 3 years to make one judgment.
Even most of that PR, the ruling from the ECOWAS, the previous ruling from the ECOWAS court,
they wouldn't respect it.
They not even accept it. They look at the case with
ECOWAS rule on Kabila Janet. The government in know the ruling.
It doesn't have enforcement power. At least instructing the judges in the court.
Have the record. The ruling is there. This should have been taken to the ECOWAS court long time ago.
So I think the way the ECOWAS court is designed,
ECOWAS will send you back to your own jurisdiction. You just take matter
locally before you go to another jurisdiction.
ECOWAS court, when you have had ruling in your own court and the ruling is not satisfactory, you can take.
We're talking about election in October. You talk about ECOWAS court that will take 3 years to handle one case.
That's part of it. You can't say they will say
I just want to say that the court has limitation. The ECOWAS court has limitation.
Involving human rights.
Yeah, the court has limitation. This is clearly political.
So it's not just any legal matter happening in your country. The court will hear it if it violates your human rights.
The human rights, yes.
Then the court will hear it. So,
but this is a violation of human rights. It's political at the same time, but people's rights are being stepped on.
ECOWAS will not do nothing about political case.
Even in the case,
but your court should handle it. ECOWAS will not do nothing about political case.
Even before you go to the last, Stephen, at this point, we're not interested in any legal pursuit of this matter. Obviously, we have strong legal arguments that were made before the courts, and they decided to go political on us. So at this point, we have an election that we have to win. We do believe that all these, Huru Bala with the court, going to court every day and everything, is causing a lot of distraction for us from the election. And this is what our opponent won. We cannot give them what they want. So when the political leader speaks on Saturday, the next course of action that will be taken by the party will be defined. Mr. Beatty can be about making a sharp move there. He got a carte blanche for the Liberty Party. He cannot move Liberty Party one step. He cannot move the party one step because people, the partisans who make up the party are not listening to him. And what he's doing, just show voting. Oh, I won case and this and that. We know what happened. That the courts are substituted with bribe. And better than the strategies of bribe. And so we can only have to expose what is happening in the system. Everybody knows that the system is compromised.
The U.S. State Department report is very clear that judiciary, including the Supreme Court, is corrupt.
When CNN go on vacation, who can buy a plane ticket ability? Who can supply them with petroleum product every week for the generator at the Bureau houses? It's the same ability. So he boasts of it everywhere he goes. It's no secret.
And something before we take the phone call, something Pierre said here that we should all pay attention to. And this is very important, especially so as we head to elections in 6 months. When the population of the country reach a point where they don't have faith in the judiciary, the outcome of the 2023 October elections will not reach the judiciary. And the fear, and this is why in the documentary series written in the Hot Pepper newspaper, it talks about how rigging of the election led to the civil conflict. And the reason it led to the civil conflict is not necessarily because the people just wanted to go to the civil conflict. It was because the people knew within themselves that they had no other alternative to resolving election matters. They had no faith in the court system. They had no faith in any other jurisdiction higher that will resolve the matter. What did the people do? The people took matter into their own hands.
Simple.
And this is why in Dr. Famula's article, as Pierre referenced, he said the country was so politically charged to the extent that even an argument on a football stadium could have sparked a revolution. And it did. So people overlooking these elections, these elections in October, they're not just about replacing George Weah. It's about the soul of the nation.
Yes.
It's about bringing hope to a group of hopeless people. It is about bringing that sense of believing in your government back to a group of people that realize that there is no faith in their government. Exactly. So this is what 2023 October is all about. And so the court cannot be seen as playing a role in this process, and at the same time believing that the Liberian people will use the court for redress. It's not going to happen. And this is why the court has to be very mindful in her role. And I'm so embarrassed. I'm so disappointed when I listened to Daniel talk about how the Chief Justice was referring to them in the chambers of the Supreme Court. Look, let me tell you something. One of the things people think in Liberia is when you give them small power, they think everybody's staying with them. They think everybody stays with them. And I don't blame people like Justice Yodem. I was seeing very system. These people go for scrutiny before the legislature, and nobody scrutinized them. In less than 2-3 hours, you confirm a justice. Yeah. When the U.S. when Biden appointed the lady the other day for a confirmation hearing as an associate justice on the U.S. Supreme Court, you know how long that confirmation took? The reason that confirmation took long was because the senators wanted to know her position on every issue to the point where they even questioned articles she wrote while in her college. And the reason these confirmation hearings are important is because it tends to give you a clear understanding in terms of the ideological thinking of somebody who goes on a position that will remain there up until 70 years old, and that they will decide the fate of the country, and that their decision becomes binding. Only God can change it. Where does she stand on the issue of some of the controversial issues in Liberia? No question was asked.
She got no perspective.
No legal perspective about so the project could everybody think so they go there and they think they got this job that she will remain there until she's 70. So she didn't get respect for nobody. Didn't get respect for nobody. And this nonsense will have to stop someday. And very soon too. So guys, let's take some calls. We're running almost above time. We're after on the clock, we're after 7. On the screen, we 2 hours and 49 minutes. So let's take a few calls. I know this is a very interesting matter. We'll continue this on Friday. Hopefully, Senator Dillon will have his internet issues sorted out. And then by the same time, we can get copies of the ruling. Because it's strange enough for the Supreme Court to rule and tell you, say, the same thing you read, you can't get a copy. We got to go ask more technical detail to what we read to get you here tomorrow. It makes no sense. But let's take a few calls. Jupol, let's take a few calls, at least 5 to 10 calls, and then we can move forward.
087. That's 087 04 36 60 0887 04 36 60. Oh my word. So 087 04 36 60 077 047 2019 077 047 2019 077 001 36 67 077 001 36 67 086 67 72 82 086 67 72 82 and plus 1401 688 8266. And let me see as to what I can get this person on the line. Live on the program, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello, this is Abraham Joy, and I call from rehab.
Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, you see, boy, over the water party issue. We're not anything now in Liberia. And now Supreme Court, no one will trust it until after George Wilson. We'll never trust the Supreme Court. Once we announce this far, we'll make sure that by all courts what we want, and what will happen in our citizens. We're not talking about Supreme Court again, because we know it.
Thank you. You left the line. This person, hello.
How are you? My name is Bill S. Babu, and I call from Banga, Bon County.
It's good having you, Chief. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you for this program. The program is very educated, and people abroad know much about this country. That we are living here, I really want to appreciate the program. It's educating us, it's even letting our mind come October 10th, the next decision that we take to move this country forward in terms of development. Look, we are in this country, we are spread to speak. We know what's going on. Even civil servants know what is going on. Because on a daily basis, their salaries are declining, no reason. But who will speak? If you speak, you get missing the next day. So it is fear we're living in, and we only pray to God for long life until October 10th when we get to the pool to make the right decision. Thank you for the program. Continues to preach the program for all our government on the show. Let it sensitize our people so that our people can turn up to register for the biometric that is about to begin in Port County. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chief. Quiet.
Hello, caller. Your name and where you call from?
Yeah, I'm Steve with the Seaton. I'm calling from the Oro community.
Make your point.
Yes, thank you very much. You know, it is saddening. We have been having sad days in our history, but today marks one of the saddest days we have ever had for 2 reasons. One, today marks the day on which people die because of failed democracy. At the same time today, the Supreme Court that should be the final arbiter of our justice, that should bring purification to our society, is taking a route politically. With all that, we members of the Liberty Party will be steadfast, will be committed, we believe that no matter what happens, the Liberty Party will still prevail. And the court will not stop us from prevailing in ability. We are only waiting to listen to the political leader side, and whatever she says, what direction she directs us, we will move. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, please, guys, hold on. Let me listen. Let's listen to Franklin Dolokwe, who is on the line. Franklin called from Nima County. Franklin, how are you?
Praise God for long life.
Yeah, we tried to get you on the other day and it was difficult. So what news what
Out of network area.
okay. What news from Nima? What's happening in Nima?
Well, we praise God for long life and imbalance. They are all okay. Of recent, they lost one of their local musician here. They were in here watching the family. They are being able to talk with them, and they are now have their normal activities that they are being involved with. His name was Elijah Ogwe, was one of the local popular musicians that were coming out, but he passed out a few weeks ago.
Any national issues?
Well, we reported about new ammunition was discovered in this community called Blegistan here in Ganta, where the notorious Ivorians and robber, his name is Abu Wemi, were arrested by the Liberia National Police, Ganta, and he is currently in Senegal ongoing investigation. But at his house, his girlfriend house in Blegistan, where this huge ammunition was discovered, believed to be the rounds of AK-47 and GMG GMG. But it was this 16 years old boy who have gone to clean his parents' backyard when he discovered it and he turned it over to the police. But the information we are receiving is that a secret court in Senegal, the county attorney, John Mayer, is raising an alarm that the charge sheet for this armed robber has missing from the court. So tomorrow I'll be going to the judicial secret court in Senegal to verify this report. On the other side of the government of Liberia was constructing this road between Ganta and Senegal, between Ganta and Sekelepe. But this road can't to extend still. But the residents of this area, they are calling on government to settle their liability with those Chinese company called Chico, because Chico have been raising concern that the government of Liberia owed them $30 million United States dollars, and the government have been able to pay this work, prompted them to back off from the road construction work. And again, the Nima Community College, they should call it the Nima Community College, was now been described as a university, or they have been granted to operate at the university. So they have not been able to really carry on active work since January up to present, about 3 to 4 months now. The school has shut down. Those agree in startup, or they call it the Nima University Faculty Association, headed by Theophilus John Kwai. They have been raising concern that government of Liberia paying them. They see a amount that they were receiving when they were on, or maybe when they were being referred to as a community college, but now they have been given a university status. They still receiving little money, so they have been calling on government to increase their budget for the university. Imagine where a master degree holder are being paid $150 United States dollars or $200 United States dollars. So they are saying they are not being able to work for that amount. So they've been on a go slow for the past 4 months now.
Okay. Any other thing? Quickly.
Well, on the other side to the election issue, the Zimbabweans have been calling on the former vice president, Ambassador Joseph Nyuma Bwaka, to get his running mate from Nima County. The name of Jeremiah Kun has been a name on discussion, where even on the local radio station, local entertainment area, or you see motorcyclists, well, they are saying that if the ambassador get Jeremiah Kun, Senator Jeremiah Kun, he will be able to secure more vote for Nima County. Few days ago, I was informed that all the chief from here, from Nima County,
They went in Bon County, Central Liberia, where they also bear the chief elder from Bon and Lofa, and they invited the former vice president, Ambassador Joseph Yuma Bwaka, chief elder from Nima County, requesting or asking the former vice president to get his running mate from Nima County.
All right, but do they just want running mate from Nima, or they want it to be at all costs Jeremiah Kun, or it can be any son or daughter of Nima?
Yeah, they are saying it can be any son or daughter.
Okay.
Yeah, because Tiawan Gonglo too is also here.
All right.
Jeremiah Kun too is also here. That Jeremiah Wapo is also here. So yes, they are asking the former vice president, Ambassador Bwaka, who is the political leader for Unity Party, to get his running mate from Nima County. In the past, people of Mike Gibi also benefited from the vice president when he chose Emmanuel Nukwe. So this time around, the chief elder from Nima, they are asking the former vice president and the political leader of Unity Party to get his running mate from Nima County.
But the Magibi people, they didn't ask the vice president to maybe a son or daughter of vice president. Yet they did it on their own.
Yes, maybe Nima people, instead of Ambassador Bwaka working to them, they was the first to engage their chief and elder. They are doing it the traditional way too, so they are going to engage the chief and elder. And they are done that where they engage the chief and elder from Lofa and those from Bon County and those from Nima too. They join them and they have a roundtable discussion before inviting the political leader of the Unity Party, Ambassador Joseph Yuma Bwaka.
So you the one in Nima. My last question, and then we'll go because we got other colors to make. But you the one in Nima. The Nima people, do they sincerely, without any interest, Vice President Biden, do they really think that they prepared to help Bwaka win election, or it must be that he takes somebody from them before they can stand behind him to be the president? Where you see happening in Nima, you as nobody from Nima as running mate. You think
what happened here in Nima? Yes, mixed view. Other people, they are saying if the ambassador, maybe Senator Kun, they may distance themselves from them. Other people are also saying that the vice president, the former vice president, Ambassador Bwaka should get Jeremiah Kun, Senator Kun, or Councilor Tiawan Gonglo. But they are requesting that any of them, the political leader of the Unity Party can get his running mate for Nima, but they are willing to pledge their support for Ambassador Joseph Yuma Bwaka to win for this pending election.
Only if
so they are saying, there are some, well, they are asking the former vice president to get his running mate for Nima.
Okay, thank you, Franklin Dorokwela, ended it. Thank you.
I got call to Noah.
Yeah.
Why?
All right. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much. I want to say, Comrade Sano, Senior Comrade Pia, and the rest of all of you. Good evening again. Noah Zawugesi is my name, and I called basically to say a few things quickly. I listened to Musa Bereke on Spoon Talk because I was monitoring the both shows simultaneously. Bereke, those of you who keep calling for this Bwaka and Kumi sticky, and I think in my mind you're not doing fair at this stage. You cannot wish for something that is not enough.
My man, speak the issue. Speak the issue we raised on the show. Nobody call coming Bwaka together.
The reason is I know what I'm saying. Because they were on the show just now.
Yeah, but Noah, just wait. The reason why Daniel intervened is because he said those of you who calling for Bwaka comment ticket. Nobody on this show has called for Bwaka comment ticket.
No, I'm not speaking directly to you. When I mean you, the subject you, what I'm trying to say, I'm speaking to the public. Because majority, I mean, not majority, but good number of the public of recent, like Senator Balu, who claimed that he has suspended his membership on our party since we left the CPP. I don't know when did he get re-elected in our party. He all over the place that he calling for United Opposition in UP man that there must be Paka and community, and he made making all kind of remarks against our party on Spoon Talk this evening. So I called basically to say, I think we should let this thing, let it be behind us. There are some things that are not just supposed to happen, and we're not just happy. On the level of the party matter, I like the way you put it.
Noah.
I like the way you put it on the level of the party.
Noah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just intervene again. You see, the best way you can position yourself, not to be distracted, is to select what you listen to. You know, Berete is somebody who works for the government. You know everything about him. But he goes on Spoon, you take your time, you listen to him. You're not going to re-echo what he said on Spoon yet.
Okay.
It's shown up for that one there. Yeah.
On the Liberty Party issue, for me, I just think that when like Nigeria has two sophisticated parties in this country, and you like it, we say I know whether people like it or not, you will accept it. The UP and the Liberty Party, they remain Liberia's two greatest political parties when it comes to ideas, when it comes to logics. So like Daniel was saying, they know very well that by keeping the conflict in the Liberty Party is something that they think that they can benefit from. But I can tell you, for real, they're not going to benefit anything, because even a benefit will live by the quasi ruling by the Supreme Court headed by Madam to satisfy benefit quest, because he gives them fuel or gas or fuel their generator and think that they can destroy the Liberty Party. That's not true, because the Liberty Party has men and women that today benefit will go, but Liberty Party will remain.
Thank you.
I don't want to tell us she got a repetition to put on the lamp. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you.
Here tomorrow, she will see the way for what she's doing in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chupo, let me get a question from Sweden and I'll come back to you quickly. Call up, go ahead quickly, 1 minute.
Thank you very much. My name is Douglas. How are you?
Yeah, Douglas, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Look, it was, I think, 5 months ago, I told Dylan to leave Billy alone, and all of the guys that are running on Liberty Party ticket, they should go independent if they want to pursue that case. Look, Billy, these guys, I don't want to be trouble, but they are from the Wosolo Empire. If that guy will fight that case, and he will pump in money. Last night, Billy went call on school and he told them that he's booking on space tomorrow, he will rule the case. So Bulletin already knew that he will win that case from yesterday. The people, the Bulletin is in the pocket, those guys are in the pockets of Bulletin. You see? So let the people leave that case alone. All the people that are running on Liberty Party, let them go independent. And you know, I'm very, very worried about Youngly because you know, I'm a member of the Unity Party. Now this culture, if Youngly will go on our ticket, so let me tell you, if anything will happen, that Youngly, if the public that when Youngly to go as running mate, you guys will carry the Supreme Court and will become problem. I tell you.
No.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let us not misinform the public. There is nothing that you can go to court for if Waka choose Nyomli just as Nyomli. You know, the law does not say you must choose your running mate based on political party. I can be saying that I ain't no party. If a person want to choose me, they will choose me. There's no basis for anything. So just leave that one. Let us not.
But then why people, when people ready to run in another election and they don't want to go, and because they will conflict the party, they suspend their membership within that party and go run independent.
No, you don't have to even suspend your membership. You're not going on the party ticket. That's what it means. But it means maybe for the party to not punish you, tell the party that suspend my membership. But if you don't even suspend your membership, you can go independent, and nothing. The law doesn't stop you from doing that. They just get it. They just get a record straight.
But then which means you suspend your membership.
You don't have to. They can say if they say because you're going independent, we expect you that's their decision. But nobody will stop you from running as an independent because you didn't suspend membership from party. The laws are clear. Yeah.
You see, my fear is we'll have to go to the Supreme Court again to clarify.
Well, let us not worry about that because Bwaka not to anybody who is picking. So let us not dwell hypothetical.
Okay, because for us, we are supporting Yomi, but this is the fear that we have.
Yeah, everybody can support whoever they want to support, but in the end, it's Joseph Bwaka who will make the decision.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much.
All right. Dupont, go ahead.
So DJ Lomé, you have actually been on the line for long. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dupont, for the recognition. Thank you for having me. Look, Daniel, Stephen, and my big brother Pierre, we have to be very careful. This is to show to the Liberian people that if this election is fair and then if there's cheating or anything, we go to that Supreme Court, the opposition will not get fair judgment. Because I listened to somebody on the other side. He was the party chairman and they asked him, do you take Naomi Kanda as your standard bearer of the party? As a political leader, he says, now you're for that. But therefore, reconciliation. How will you have the reconciliation with all regarding your political leader? So this thing that the Supreme Court is doing is clear indication that if all the opposition vote and the election goes on when we go to the Supreme Court, there will be no hearing for us. The Supreme Court will rule in favor of the ruling government. This is the thing I was saying, that at that time, the lawmaker to accept that woman and pass her to be the chief justice of this nation. I knew there was a problem coming, and this is a clear indication that Liberian people can see. This is the time that we should stand on our feet and don't let the people stay into power. Because if they go to that Supreme Court, this government already wants the election, and then they have that Supreme Court bench. My brother, my sister, there will be problem in this nation, and I see it coming from far off. If there's any way we can attack it, now let us attack it. Because bless our nation and save our state. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so very kindly for your points. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Eugene. You talk from the Children Grand Bassa country. Now, the operation of the Supreme Court, even in line with the House of Mutabeli, is a complete destruction. The Liberty Party, right now to speak in Bassa, we are looking up to Senator Naomi Lawrence. We are looking up to Joseph Bwaka to have the ticket set to make sure that we unseat the government. The Liberty Party issue will put it behind us. Even if you call Bede here today and call Senator Naomi Lawrence, the two people will call meeting. Senator Naomi Lawrence will take all of the numbers. Now one person will follow Bede. So we shouldn't waste our time. We are prepared. The Bassa people now are prepared to follow Naomi and work with Bwaka and deliver this country. So somebody talking about when maybe is choosing to go to court on what ground? The party is has a conflict in court already. Then they choose to make anything go to court on what basis? The constitution has been taken away. The constitution of the party has been taken away. And what would be a reliance to go by the court? So it's not true. And the same people are doing the same thing. So that's what I call from benefit in the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I have another person on the line. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
You're live in the program, Chief. Please go ahead.
Yes, as this Timothy James, members of the Liberty Party also. What has happened is a very good idea, and what they have done, the Supreme Court has even gotten more angry. So I believe if the party was even choose to believe now is a very good thing because they have put her into the campaign mode. So there's no need for which we got to be worried about whatsoever decision because we are already angry for the ruling. So if even today was election, you will see the full trend for the Bassa people will be very bitter against this government. So I think it was not bad.
Okay, thank you. Please turn down your monitor. What's the name? Where you're calling us from?
Okay, thank you. My name is Mohammed Kamara calling for Omar Palace.
Go ahead. Turn down your monitor, please.
Okay. Yes. Okay now.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I just want Daniel Sano. Yeah, because hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want Daniel Sano about the Liberty Party issue here. And for some of us, for me, I'm supporting Yombi for the old man to care for. But we say, in your color, sort of going Gary, the talking, when you're too Yombi, you'll be in court here to here. So, election money, where to outdrawn it. So, when you continue be, going to court and coming, when will be selling ticket? With the rescue too.
Okay.
When will be selling rescue too? So I'm a concern. I want Donald to run, make it to
But 1 minute. But that's what we said. That's what we said to you, that the court process are distraction. We're not after it again. Muna suggesting I go to Equa School. We're not wasting our time to go to Equa School. The election is in 6 months. So we'd rather sit here and go into the trenches. That one of the callers said the Supreme Court decision is the beginning of the campaign, because everybody now knows that they are targeting Liberty Party because they don't want us to form an alliance with JMP. That's what they're doing. But how many persons will be distracted by that Supreme Court ruling? Nobody going to follow Musa. So that's why we say we focus on the campaign right now, mobilizing the base of the party and look up to the political leader for direction. Thank you.
So I think your question was well answered. Thank you.
Good evening.
Okay, good evening. What's the name we're calling us from?
Oh, thank you very much. This is Bobby Abumeska from the district center at the Koboru. Let me appreciate this panelist this evening for the show and discussion. Oh, I'm so disappointed in what we have reached to a crucial election. Our leader just come you to maintain the peace and stability of the country. Then to see the Liberty Party case has taken us down into a ability, because so where they put the building stand the MOU in from that. What they are not looking at that one. Where we build the political union next to the injustice law. They told them to correct the constitution, and the law are not looking at that. So the peace agreement that will lead to political leaders. This is how they will cover the country for 2023 or so. What there? We see different things happening, because today is the Liberty Party, tomorrow it will be Guada. We will not stand to see this happening, because we will not stand to continue speaking President George Manuel. We are going to 2023 election. That will not win. My question to Daniel Sano is, what are the way forward? What jumping is doing? What is next thing? Because we cannot say to lose our party. That will not work for some of us to our party be trained to build it. I cannot say to see that. It will not happen. So where jumping is doing that? Let them tell us what the next step so we can follow.
Thank you. Thank you so very kindly, Chief. Thank you.
Chupot, take one more call so we can wrap up.
The number are correct.
Yeah, Timothy James, if you gotta check your number and send a real number. I think it should be 10 digits. We're getting 9 digits here.
Hello?
You're live in the program, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is Musa M. Sharif from Kawata.
Working 1 minute, Chief, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. This Liberty Party issue, the only thing I got to tell the Liberians, everybody should get up and stand on their feet. This is not about party, this is about the country. Because the thing Musa Brady is doing here, today we see Liberty Party. It will not only affect the Liberty Party for the whole country. Because after the Liberty Party issue, another case will go to the court, and the court will be ruling against the nation. So I think every Liberian, everywhere many Liberians should get on their feet and take action against the particular thing that's going on. This is not for tribal issue. This is about the country. For me, I'm not for no party in this country. I'm for Liberia. We should get up. We stay on our feet. We see our country. Other people should for our rights. You see, when you're Guinea, and South Africa, Africa, people stood for our rights. There must be, of course. But
think Nyogri or Dallon, they're doing that. They're not telling their business yet. It is for the country, it is for the people.
Thank you.
So that was all and fact for this.
Thank
you.
Thank you, Chief. And I think that thank you.
All right. I think we're good on course. We're gone almost.
Well, we'll take
4 hours.
the last one from me, then we go.
Yeah,
Caller on
let's
line,
take
go
the
ahead.
last final call from you so that we can.
Caller on the line, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Sam Molenberg. I come from PA.
Yeah, Molenberg, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed in the Spoon Network. Not Spoon, the class reloaded. Because you guys continue to educate our people to go register to vote. And this is a very good decision. And I don't care what people say. If Joseph Boakai decide to take Osama Guam to go with him as a running mate, man, we still carry him because Joseph Boakai, we know his account based on the fact that he worked in government and he has no corruption fault. So let the people understand that we are with the class reloaded to show that this system works. And I got a message for the class reloaded.
So let me ask you a question before you give that message. You said your first statement was you disappointed in the class reloaded. Why are you disappointed?
I'm disappointed because you guys are promoting our Senate bearer.
I'm here for joke. I'm here for joke.
I mean, you're close to the show, yeah.
Yeah, guys.
I attack the many men.
I was still up there. What kind of bed? So, Muna, you come by, you wrap up this thing. Let's do it quickly, guys. It's been a great show. Thanks to all of our callers who called in. It's been a great time. We got almost 4 hours. Way ahead of schedule. But it was a great conversation. So, Jupor, Muna, your turn.
Steven, close. I got long Jason to cover.
Okay, yeah, Daniel, you close first. We go to Jupor, then Muna, your turn, and then P. At least a minute each so that we can wrap up. It's almost.
So I like the trend the conversation is taking. Liberians are now seeing through the deception from everywhere. They are now seeing through attempts by the ruling establishment to dumping the chances of JMB winning the election. So you listen to some of the callers, they're very enthusiastic in spite of what the Supreme Court is doing to weaken an ally of JMB. It's a good thing. At least this time around, Liberian know what is obtaining behind the scene. And I'm sure that this is all happening because the class reloader is here to say the things that other people cannot say. There are people out there who think that the ruling from the Supreme Court today is something normal. But anybody who listens to what we say here will begin to think twice. And that's why our supporters are continually energized and they can't wait for the elections. I mean, the greatest thing that we should be worried about is not to manipulate and outmaneuver your political opponent. It's to worry about the resolve of the Liberian people. That regardless of what you do, regardless of any lie that you tell, Liberians are still saying that they are resolved to make you a one-term president. So you can't change water into wine in the 11th hour. We can say October 2, late for steady. So let's go into the election and going to see who want to win. It is the Liberian people for the CDC. So thank you, Stephen. We look forward to being here again on Friday.
On Friday, yeah. We'll see you on Friday.
I will do the Friday edition from Basso because the political leader will be speaking in Basso on Saturday. So I will
okay, cool. And then maybe you can get some of the guys there so we can see them, you know?
Yeah, sure. We'll do that.
Yeah, we can see like Samson Mendel and the other guys who are in Basso. But safe travel and be safe out there, Daniel. We'll see you, God's willing, on Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah, so as usual, we just want to say thanks to everyone for the time. It was actually rewarding and educative. And God bless all of us. Good night from my end.
Thank you, Chupo. Mona?
Tanya said it right. it is the CDC versus the Liberian people. We are ready to vote them out of power. The Liberian people are ready to stand together against the tyranny of a government, this cult of a government. The Liberian people are ready to say no to hunger, to excessive hunger, hunger that can make somebody think, don't even know how to think, that can't even think straight. Hunger that will make a woman leave her husband at home to go and go look for money, whatever way she can get it. Then Liberian people stand up and say no. We should go and register. Even if we didn't register in Monrovia, we still got a chance. We can go to Banga, we can go to other counties that are still registering. The registration will be open soon in other counties. We can travel there and register and hold our registration cards and say no to this cult, this devil of a man called himself Awuya, whoever he is. He will not spend one more day in power after his tenure. Liberian people are ready to stand up against him and say no. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mona. Thank you. It was good having you, as always, joining us today. Yonton.
Yeah, Stephen, I think the Liberty Party case and the saga is unfortunate, and the ruling today just show clearly that the Supreme Court has now become a third party, a political party, and an auxiliary of the ruling establishment. I'm anxious. I'm looking forward to the political leader of the Liberty Party's position, but I think a radical political posturing, a radical political approach is needed in this situation. But overall, it has been a good show. I want to thank you and Jerolimic and Mona for staying on, and to our many listeners for not cutting class.
Thank you, Yonton. Apia.
It is interesting that today is April 12th, the day on which a group of native people, quote unquote, killed President Tolbert and executed 13 persons said to be members of the American Liberian group. They accused them of a lot of things: rampant corruption, injustice. Ordinary people can't get justice in the court of law, marginalization, and all the other things they listed. But strangely, on the same day, the Supreme Court, made of 5 justices that are all members of the native elite. Now, we have become elite. There's no one single Congo man on that court. The very things we complain about for which we killed Toba are taking actions and decisions reminiscent of the very reasons for which we killed Toba and executed 13 other persons. You don't hear of Chessing, of Dickerson, Harris, whatever on that code. You hear a Yo, a Kaba, a Nambe, a Wolokoli. Who the last one? They're all there. You hear their names. They are taking our minds back to the reasons for which the coup came. They are taking our minds back to the excesses that came about even after the coup, when the so-called country people were in power. And they've come back worshiping a tribal bigot who sits in a powerful executive mansion, controls the legislature, controls the judiciary, and has turned our country into something else. I want to say to them, let them take a time on this April 12th. It's already in the night in Liberia, but they still have small time. And then moving forward and reflect, do a little bit of reflection. What you're doing there is abuse of power. The fact that you take a job that almost for life because you have to reach 70 before you leave it, does that make you a lord over the people? That it becomes so arrogant. The court is the place to carry case. Every account Daniel was giving is anything true. That Yo was running up and down the court shouting about being tired, about Liberty Party case. What the hell? Where do you want people to carry cases when they have problems? If it's carrying it away from the court, are you encouraging us to take more action or we feel that our rights are violated? What's going on with y'all? Why your country people quit to push it out when you get small power? You ever know you're a slow woman, but you're supposed to be a professional lawyer at the same time? You not pay attention to the details of the law, and you be doing everything to pay for the regime because your husband is a part of them. You better be careful. You better be careful. Because you never know how these things can end. Be careful. If not about yourself, look at the thousands of people, millions of people in our country who can go anywhere when hell breaks loose. When hell breaks loose. Probably when something want to happen, you can fly. But do you consider the millions of people who can't go anywhere and will be caught up in the mess you people are trying to create? When you look at the ministry, the Temple of Justice, you got that stuff up there. I don't know whether you ever change it or it's the same thing. Let justice be done to all.
Let justice be done.
Just stay up there. Do you put look at it when you're making decisions in the court? Or is it all about satisfying your friends and your political allies? The court cannot be political. The court must be based on the details of the law. For if you make the court to be political, it's a recipe for chaos and anarchy. And posterity will judge you all if you lead our nation into turmoil and anarchy.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Pierre. Let me say a big thanks to all of you for joining us. Mona, Yonton, Jerry Linnick, Jerry was with us earlier. Senator Dillon tried to log on, but he had some internet challenges. Daniel Sando, and of course, Chupo. It's been a very wonderful show. Today is Wednesday, the 12th of April. We will be back here on Friday. Same time, same station, same platform on social media. I would like to say thanks to Bourgeois Radio, Premier FM, Radio Dupa, Voice of Lufa, Radio Joy Africa, and of course, Voice of Compa. I would like to say thanks to all of our callers, thanks to all of our classmates, our students who shared the show. Thanks to all of you for following us closely. It's been a wonderful show. I've been your host, Stephen Johnson, saying we'll see you on Friday, God's willing. Do have a wonderful rest of the evening. God bless you all, and so long. Bye-bye.
It's all in the game.
It's all